Underneath, Smith gets to the corner. Money on the rise. Touchdown, Jeremiah Smith.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Johnson buys some time. There's the tight end again, rumbling towards the end zone, and the touchdown for Ancio.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Klubnik's going to take off. Klubnik with a touchdown.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome in to the Friday edition of 365 Sports. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak. And Craig, last night was not a banner schedule for college football with Kennesaw State and FIU and Western Kentucky and Louisiana Tech, although that game was much better. But those are the two games last night.
No, that's Tuesday.
I'm sorry, golly. Thursday night was South Alabama at Georgia State, which is 38-31. Those 2-1-6 teams as the night started. So, but tonight, Cal at Virginia Tech, Boise State at Nevada, and North Texas at Charlotte. But we do have, some kind of big, interesting news out of the SEC today, in that an official has been suspended. Ken Williamson, longtime referee he has been suspended for the remainder of the crew in the wake of his crew's performance in a 20-10 victory at Auburn on October 11th. And so if you saw the game, that was the Kirby Smart fake timeout game. There's another call in there that the touchdown that wasn't a touchdown, that could have been a fumble. It was kind of a chaotic game, but this is kind of a shock given that the SEC doesn't really talk about this stuff all that often.
What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day, and glad to be here on a Friday. And thank you, everybody in chat, for being with us. And please hit that like and subscribe button here on this final day of the week before a massive weekend. And, as you mentioned last night, just the one game on the schedule. We've had some games sprinkled throughout the week, though, that have kept us somewhat, entertained and kept our whistles wet for what's to come starting later on tonight. But as far as this story goes, but I guess before we get to the games tonight, it's very interesting. I had a rant a couple weeks ago about maybe not so much a rant, but we talked a couple weeks ago about the problems in college football that aren't the obvious ones that we continue to get slapped across the face with every other week about, TV deals or regulations or whatever the case may be, all the off the field stuff. The one thing that bothers me more than probably any of them is the lack of good officiating across the sport, which I'm able to be open-minded to and understanding of the fact that you've got a lot of games that are needing to be called across the country, and a lot of people given their time and their weekends and everything like that. And yes, they are getting paid. People need to remember that as well. But there's still, even with this spread out number of people across the country, there's still just a lack, I think, of officiating needing to be where it should be for a sport that is as important and as good as the sport of college football is, especially at the top level. So to see that game a couple weeks ago, was that last week? I don't even know where we are in the schedule anymore. But to see that Georgia-Auburn game and a lot of the Auburn games have had incidents where you've wondered about the calls. But, that game was one of those where I was watching. I think I may even have said it on Monday. I'm just going, man, I don't want to believe things are rigged, but damn, y'all make it hard to not believe that sometimes. And some of those Auburn games this year they've had been the end of some calls where you're just like, yeah, man, if I was Hugh Freeze, I'd be losing my damn mind. And it's not just one game, it's been multiple games. But to go ahead and suspend an official, and this is not just exclusive to Auburn, this has been across the country and over years. And again, it's a lack of officials in some cases. The more you need, the lesser the quality eventually gets to be. And they're not full-time like the NFL. And I know all of the reasons why they're not perfect. They're human. There's that as well. But I do think that's a step that needs to be taken to take this sport to another level, is to clean up the officiating. We don't need, in the Big 12 in particular, a first down on the second play of the game that's the difference between 6 inches or not needing to be a 10-minute review. Like, there's just things that could be better. But this in particular is very interesting and just a very curious move because they typically don't go this far with officiating. And to outright suspend a guy for an entire half of the season, that's pretty heavy, man. Like, we do not see that. And when I saw that headline drop yesterday, I was like, oh, that's very, very interesting stuff right there.
Yeah, it is very. There was someone completely kind of random reported this, and a lot of people were like, no, it's not happening. And then, then it did. It actually happened. I think a lot of this could be taken care of by just having the availability for a pool reporter like the NFL does. Like, you could see a lot of things, you could see a lot of mistakes. I don't really like the OU thing that happened. That is the crew not like fully grasping the rule in real time. So I kind of understand that one. This Auburn and Georgia game was chaotic. It was. It was ridiculously chaotic. And then, all right, you review the fumble thing and you decide what it was, okay. But then when Kirby Smart very clearly calls a timeout and then tricks the officials into saying, oh, no, I was clapping because I was saying that they were having disconcerting signals, and you don't charge them a timeout, call a penalty or anything, and just start the whole thing over because you were confused, means that you don't have control of that game. So I think that a suspension is appropriate. It getting out publicly, I'm sure, is something the SEC didn't want to have happen. But I think that now, of course, in our information, readily available world, that's almost impossible to do, because I think, honestly, you could suspend an officiating crew, not say anything about it, and no one would notice,
Yeah, no, probably not. I don't think there's really anybody keeping tabs on that sort of thing. But, for it to come out publicly, I think has gotten some backlash. I know there was an official that I saw, a longtime NFL official, I think it was Terry McCauley. Yep. There were some quotes from him about the SEC. He wrote on Twitter, "This is insane. Ken is a very good referee and has been for a very long time. I've commented on the Georgia-Auburn game and know the crew did not have a very good game. By the way, very good game. Apparently 11 calls were sent in and 9 of them were deemed to be wrong calls. So not a very good game. 9 calls. Like, we can get like, oh, that should have been holding. It's like, I don't think that's what they were exactly viewing. That was all just like, oh, you missed the meaningless holding call. It's like, no, like the Jackson Arnold play can be debated though. Like, I don't want to get stuck on that one, because that one you could look at it from the other side and go like, no, the ball's barely moving. Like, that one's not clear enough to say one way or the other really. But to have 9 of those calls, I mean, in a close game like that, you mean to tell me that it'll make a difference in who ends up winning or not, especially given the nature of some of those calls? But Terry McCauley blasted the SEC, said he looks forward to the day that an athletic director suspends his coach for a single game for poor clock management or allowing players to feign injury or making bad play calls. And he said, or let's permanently bench a quarterback for throwing a game-ending interception regardless of his past performance. If this is solely based on that one game, then shame on everyone involved. It's yet another reason why conferences should not oversee officiating and will forever be a dark. Okay, now you're just being dramatic, Terry. Like, get a freaking grip, dude. Yeah. But dark stain on college football. I think making calls that affect the outcome of a game is a way darker stain on college football than punishing the guys who made the wrong calls that affected the game. Yeah. But what do I know? Yeah. I'm not an official sticking up for other officials. The buddy stuff, the union type stuff where, hey, we screwed up, but hey, like everybody screws up. Like, I mean, I get he's got to stick up for his own kind, and he's right to an extent on they're not going to be perfect. But I don't know about the pool reporter thing. I don't know how much that would actually accomplish, but I am in agreement with on him. The whole reason why I brought this up, other than kind of his dramatic response at the end, was when he said, it's yet another reason why conferences should not oversee officiating. And I've been saying that for a long time. I've been saying for a while, like, we don't need SEC officials and Big 12 officials. And then we randomly throw them into bowl games with teams they haven't called all year, basically. And they have different ways of doing things or different styles of calling games or different things they look for. Yeah, I think that's the part that of all the things that he said that I agree with is, yeah, there needs to be a nationalization of sorts of officials. Now, I'm sure somebody will immediately say, well, the travel and they keep them regional for, like, I know there's reasons as to why, but I just don't think that those reasons outweigh the need now for, as big as the sport is getting, with as much money as being poured into the sport, like, the officiating should be better than it is.
Well,
like,
I mean,
that's just it.
You could still, like, you could combine the SEC, Big 12, AC, like, you could combine some conferences and still keep it regional.
Right.
I mean, there's no like, you could combine the Mountain West and the Pac and the, part of the, like, you could combine and, like, say, okay, you're going to do games in this quadrant of the United States. You're going to do this quadrant. You're going to do this quadrant and that quadrant. So nobody's flying coast to coast. I mean, so that's an easy fix right there. It's like, if you're going to combine the officials, all right, well, where do you live, Doug? All right, well, I live in Tampa. Okay, well, you're going to be in the southeastern quad, and that's where you're going to go. Outside of maybe some other things, you got to go to other places just based on coverage and how many games there are a week. But if they have enough officials to do games all over the country all week long, you could simplify it well down to its essence and take this at the league level, not the above the league level, and at the national level, and have that, because you don't have NFC East refs, and you don't have AL East umpires, and you don't have Western Conference NBA officials. And so you need to run it centralized, because you have enough cross-conference things. You need national standards, and you also can use that to improve developing officials from the lower levels and giving people a path to being college and pro officials a little bit better that get there in high school nights, because part of the other problem is that, just now women are starting to be officials, which is great, because that's a talent base that we didn't have before. But also, we don't have people that are volunteering to be high school officials because it sucks.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with the parents that are insane, and they don't want to deal with all the BS of being a high school official. So that's why high school officials are dropping off. It's not worth the effort anymore. But all I know about this is I'm not going to sit here and get into the nitty-gritty of, like, how it needs to be done or anything like that. I just think officiating needs to be better, period. Just officiating should be better. You shouldn't be walking away from games going like, man, there's like 10 blown calls in this game, and like 7 of them affected us, and we lost at the very end of this game. Like, you shouldn't be feeling like you got screwed over by the officiating. Now, I'm very well aware, and I'm sure everybody out there knows people like this. There are just some people that they just bitch about the officiating every game, no matter what, and they're always on the receiving end, and that everybody's against them, kind of a thing. But mistakes are to be expected, and things are going to happen, and I don't anticipate that really, or I don't expect really that people anticipate these guys to be perfect every week. But yeah, there's just some egregious stuff earlier this year, and I felt like that game was probably the one that most people sort of swirled around with their takes on the officiating. So it's very interesting. I mean, at the very least, it's very interesting. Does it lead to a nationalization of officials, or does it stay the way that it is? I don't know, but I think everybody just seeing that story were like, whoa. The SEC's commented about officiating before. That's not anything new, but to do it, the timing of it, I think, is what's caught everybody sort of by surprise and has people wondering, okay, well, where does this now turn if you're doing it in the middle of a season this way? So yeah, very interesting move by the SEC. Apparently, from what I read earlier, this guy's retiring at the end of the year. So I guess does that mean his career's over? That he's suspended for the rest of the year and he was planning on retiring? I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I did read that earlier today. So I guess we'll see on that part. But yeah, it opens up an interesting conversation. And I'm sure there's a lot of phone calls that have been going back and forth between people on the officiating side of things and their leaders and whatnot, because they seem to be pretty pissed off. And I can understand where they're coming from.
And look, the referees in the other sports have a union. The college sports officials don't.
Yeah.
And so, or at least not one that's the same way. I mean, they have organizations and they have that, but that's something that probably needs to come together and get figured out so that it operates better. Just some interesting news and notes as we go through the week. This from Brett McMurphy. These are since 2024, worst records versus power conference teams. Purdue, Oklahoma State, Kentucky, Mississippi State. Mississippi State's 1-12. That one win came against Arizona State this year. Florida State is 2-13. One of those wins is against Cal. The other is against a little team called Alabama. in the most nonsensical season in the history of the world. Maryland 3-12, Wisconsin 3-12, Auburn 3-11, Wake Forest, Arizona's 4-11, on down the line there. And Craig, if you hop through that list, you see new coach, fired coach, potentially fired coach, still kind of new coach, potentially fired coach, a coach who's probably teetering on the brink at Maryland and Mike Loxley, potentially fired coach, new coach, second-year coach, new coach, fired coach, should be fired coach.
Wow, it's like losing leads to firing.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
You lose a bunch against the power conference teams, you're probably on the hot seat or you're off it because you got tossed off of it, like a lot of these guys on this list, as you pointed out there. So, that's not surprising with Oklahoma State, but it is still just alarming of how bad it's gotten. Thankfully, they've already addressed that, and we'll talk about something else with them coming up that's noteworthy, but a very important piece to the puzzle for them and whoever this new head coach is going to be. Yeah, I think Oklahoma State, it's just been a really bad 2 years, and never thought I'd get to the point where they'd be 1-14, not just in the league, but just overall against Power 4 teams. But yeah, here they are, and I mean, I don't think you need many more stats other than that to understand why Mike Gundy's gone. I mean, that's just not acceptable in any form or fashion, especially when the last handful of those games were after a whole off seasons where you're supposed to have fixed it and figured out solutions. So easy to see why they made the call. I think that Mississippi State number is going to change pretty dramatically moving forward with Jeff Lebby. It's not going to be 12-1 in 3 years, but I do think they're going to add on to that one there. They're going in the right direction. And yeah, I mean, Norvell 2-13. That's all you need to know. Pretty poor stuff here. I think UCF 4-11. I mean, it's been kind of a rocky road here early on in the Big 12. I think Scott Frost has got them turning in the right direction. They're making some progress, and yeah, man, it's a lot of teams that have been bad. And as you pointed out, most of them have replaced their coaches or are about to replace their coaches.
Yeah, and I mentioned on the top five yesterday about Michigan State and Jonathan Smith. This is one of the that's one of the ones that surprises me because I think he's a really good coach, but maybe sometimes you wind up in a place and it's not a fit. And maybe he's not a fit there. Maybe it just doesn't work there at Michigan State. But that one kind of surprises me about how bad they've been over the last couple of years, and not even any better this year as they in year two of Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't really know what to make of them.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, what are we supposed to hold on to?
Yeah.
What is the identity of Michigan State football? Like, who's the cool player we're supposed to follow along with? Like, what's about the coaches? Something that draws you in. I mean, what's the appeal? Yeah. There's not really one right now to Michigan State. And look, a lot of teams don't have that appeal either, but yeah, they've struggled probably a bit more than you thought with Jonathan Smith. But I mean, I never really had huge expectations for him. I don't know why we should have.
I just thought they'd be good.
Yeah,
I mean, I just thought they'd be fine. I didn't think that he was going to go in there and be Kurt Signetti. I just thought that they'd be consistent and good. They'd be a tough out, and they're not.
Yeah, no, they're kind of just sort of there at this point in time. So yeah, it's been a bit rougher than you hoped for, certainly when you hired Jonathan Smith. But Michigan State, a program that a few years ago, I mean, I'll never forget being there for that legendary Cotton Bowl win against Baylor. That was a hell of a game and a very memorable game. I don't think I've ever seen a worse homer in the press box, though, than I did for Michigan State. I don't know if you remember that guy.
Oh, I do.
Never in my life, and I've been to dozens of press boxes, if not triple digits at this point, and never college, high school, pros, any level come across a bigger cheering in the press box homer than the Michigan State guy at the Cotton Bowl. It was insane. I don't know how he wasn't kicked out, and I don't know how he became pressed to begin with, but I hope that he doesn't cover them anymore because that was embarrassing on a lot of levels. But that was a hell of a win for them, and that's when they were kind of at their peak, I guess, here in the last several years. I mean, they were pretty steady there. But, yeah, these last couple of years with Jonathan Smith, it's been, Michigan State's there as well. Michigan, Ohio State. Or, they've been swallowed up by the Pac schools basically already at this point or surpassed by a couple of them at least. So, yeah, Brent Brennan, I think his seat has cooled off a little bit there at Arizona. But, I don't think it'll take much to put him back on there either. So,
No,
yeah, whoever's not been fired or isn't on a hot seat's probably not far from one based on these records.
Yeah, I mean, you look
except
at
for Scott Frost because he's brand new. He's fine.
And Barry Odom.
Stanford's got a mulligan.
Barry Odom.
And Barry Odom, yeah.
Yeah, but look, if Kentucky, FSU, Maryland, Wisconsin, Auburn, Wake Forest is a new coach as well. Arizona, Michigan State, and of course, if something happens at North Carolina that's not a firing, I'll be shocked. But
if these aren't jobs opened up in the next couple months, then they'll be the first in line for 2026.
Yeah, exactly. So absolutely. That's probably more of just the buyout drops $19 million
right
after this year. It's palatable if we just wait till next year and stink again. You're not going to be any more mad than you are right now. You just think you are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was an interesting thing that I saw from Brett McMurphy. Craig, you sent this to me today, and this is the college football playoff. If it were based on the AP Top 25 right now, and you see those top 4 seeds are Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, and Alabama from the Super 2. And then the 5-12 matchup will be Georgia and USF, Miami and Ole Miss, which would be a very interesting game, BYU and Oregon, which I think would be a very interesting game, and Vandy and Georgia Tech, which would be, if it holds like this, man, that'll be a fun playoff, but still only one Big 12 team in this, and right now that's BYU. And the ACC would right now get 3 teams with Georgia Tech, Miami, and who am I missing? Oh, just 2. Sorry. I got a little over my skis there. But yeah, so the ACC would get 2.
Yeah, it's just fun to look at this point in the season because here we are towards the last month and where it's about that time where I didn't really want to dive too much into playoff talk in the first weeks because, we'd waited so long for the season to get back. And then the last thing I wanted to hear from – it's just funny, the number of guys a year ago were like, the regular season. And now I watch a clip here and there and it's all about the playoff. And it's like week 3. And I'm just like, weren't you just the person – complaining about the regular season not mattering as much and all you talk about is the postseason? And I think that's a lot of fans where maybe that was the case, but the playoffs is just something that's so interesting, or the fact that it's such an open field that so many teams are involved that keeps so many people locked in on it throughout the year, even from the very beginning. For me, I don't start diving into it really until about now. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, yeah, now it feels like it's about time to really start talking about the playoff because what the hell good does it do in week 3? Miami's the number 2 seed. Well, now they're not because we played, a handful more games. But I get that it's fun to just kind of go along with it and see the progression of it. And so here we are, and now it's really crunch time. And I think it's useful to really start diving into it. And so I came across this one. I know people have their feelings on the AP poll, but this was one that was just handy. We can use others moving forward, but they're not going to all be drastically different. I mean, it's the same teams in the same spots you're working with. So, yeah, I mean, I find it fun to look at, and you can do the conference breakdown thing, but really I just look at those games, and I can already see the bitching about Georgia's going to destroy South Florida. Probably, maybe, I don't know, but it's why they play the game, and who knows if we even get that game when all is said and done, but what an opportunity that would be for USF. And I know Georgia might not get really ramped up for it, but they got Alabama waiting on the other side of that thing. So they would definitely want to, I think, play their best and not go just struggling along into a second-round matchup with Alabama. But, yeah, USF, Georgia, Miami, Ole Miss would be a hell of a game. Would definitely be tuned in for – I'll be tuned in for all of them regardless. BYU, Oregon, I would love to see that game. I think that would be fascinating. And I wouldn't put past BYU to win a game like that, by any means. Georgia Tech and Vandy, Haynes King versus Diego Pavia, Brent Key versus Clark Lee. Sign me up for that game. That would be super interesting. And then to have Bama, Ohio State, A&M, and Indiana, which I think are, you're clear for right now with the Oregon, Miami losses here recently. That seems to be about right. I haven't dove into, should this team be 2 or 3 and kind of getting into the seedings as much as probably a lot of others already have. But yeah, this isn't really me trying to complain about anything or say why my version would be better. So nominate me to be the king of the brackets. But it is fun to look at. I know that much. And it's way more fun to look at to me than the 14 playoff, where I always felt like it was just already sort of 3/4 of the way predetermined at this point. And we're just sort of waiting for who's the number 4 team going to be. And sometimes it didn't work out that way, maybe most times, but it just felt almost too exclusive. And this to me feels just about right. I would not have any problem sitting in the 12 team for a little while. I don't care about 16 and 24 and 32 and all of that. I mean, I know it could potentially be more fun and we'd have more teams involved, and maybe that makes it an even more fun regular season. But I think 12 might be a sweet spot. I'm all for seeing 12 again this year. And if there's more tweaks to be made, like the seating from a year ago, then that's fine. But yeah, this looks sexy to me. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'd enjoy that. I have a feeling that every time we put up something positive about A&M, their fans are like, "Can you just not show us?" Like,
well, as our head coach told them, get over it and grow a pair. Basically,
exactly.
Is what they need to do, and quit. The past is scary. We're going to stumble. Like, get over it. Get over it. Grow a backbone and believe in your team. And I think that's what Mike Elko probably has said to, or has in some way said to A&M fans, just not exactly in those words. But yeah, get over the fact that you typically stumble, because I mean, what's that going to do for you? Well, we're awaiting the loss we're going to take here at the end when we inevitably screw this thing up. Like, yeah, that's great for morale. That's a great mindset to have down the stretch, is we know a loss is coming. And I get it. If you're an Aggie fan and have been for a long time, you're just sort of, that's the way you've been built up. But yeah, they need to shake that off and just enjoy this ride that they're on, for those that aren't, and believe in this team, because I think that they are a very realistic shot to get deep into this thing, especially with a first round bye. I could see them being very competitive and getting down into that Final Four at minimum. So yeah, A&M's a good team, and we'll see how they finish out. But there's reason to believe this isn't some fluky deal. Yeah.
No, look, Craig, it's easy for you and Mike Elko to say, just put away your years of trauma.
It's really not, though. It's just it's more like, yeah, put it away, and it's a new year. It's not 1980, 90, 2000, whatever. This isn't Kevin Sumlin. This is a new era. So blank sheet of paper, clean slate. And I get that, yeah, I'm awaiting that undefeated going into the Texas game and losing to Texas loss. I've mentioned it multiple times.
If they're undefeated going into the Texas game and just lose to Texas, as much as it sucks to lose to Texas in something again,
yeah,
that's fine. They'll be 11-1 and likely in the SEC title game.
So what are A&M? Are they afraid that they're going to, I mean, I know the schedule's pretty tough, but like, okay, so is people afraid they're going to lose to LSU and Missouri and then South Carolina?
Yes, because that's what happens most of the time.
They're not going to lose to all those teams, man. No. This is not that same old Aggie team, but I'll eat my words if that's the case. I mean, they do have to go to LSU, to Missouri. Okay, I can see where that's problematic, and then to Texas at the end of the year. But, yeah, I just don't believe they're going to drop 3 out of their last 5 down the stretch.
If you're 10-2 and don't make it, you're still in the playoff.
Right. So even more reason to not be nervous Nellies about the whole thing. You got like 2-game mulligan, like you got 2-game buffers basically.
If you get still to be in the playoff last game and you have 1 or less loss, you're in the playoff.
Right. Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
I mean, look, they could very well lose to LSU this weekend. I think that'll be the determining turning point. Will be if they lose this weekend, because I think they should win this game. I think they're better than LSU, and the only question mark is the fact that it's in Baton Rouge, and when it kicks off, that can be trouble for anybody. But I think that A&M should be one of the more confident teams in the country, and I think they should feel like they can win every game the rest of the way, because I believe they'll be favored in every game the rest of the way it stands right now. And I think they're capable of winning every game the rest of the way. So, yeah, this weekend I think will be a determining moment in this season, because if you do take that loss and then you still have 4, okay, well, then you're very nervous about a second one. Yeah. But if you win this weekend, then I think you feel freaking fantastic about being able to go 3-1 down the rest of the final month.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, I get it. I get the PTSD because of the decades of falling short, but I just think that the fan base needs to take the attitude of their head coach and believe it's different now.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, and we'll get to a lot more later, when we come back, Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. This is 365 Sports.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
You have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries? Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building.
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
It's back 0% for 72 months on all 2025 Ram 1500 trucks during the Drive-In to Fall event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Check out a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with a massive $16,000 off, or a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $12,000 off, and both at 3.9 for 72 months. And if you drive a Ford, Toyota, or GM, get an extra $1,500 bonus cash. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
It's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game, poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. 365 Sports. Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com, our regular Friday guest here with us. And Zach, earlier today, the reports were confirmed that the SEC has suspended one of its officials, and because of the performance in the Georgia-Auburn game, which was a disaster. Ken Williamson is his name. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you think can be done to streamline, improve, get rid of some of these problems or these terrible optics that officiating in every conference seems to have every year?
I have a lot of thoughts, so I'm glad we're starting off here. I'm going to start with some inside baseball that your audience probably won't care about, but I think you guys probably will. So obviously Yellowhammer News, they were 2 days out in front of the story of everyone in the country, so credit to them. So we looked into it, reached out to the SEC just to say, is this true? Because if it's not, certainly you would think they'd want to knock it down and what set our spidey senses off was that they hadn't leaked to anyone that it wasn't true, because certainly if it wasn't true, you'd have an incentive to get that out there. So we looked into this, reached out to the SEC. I looked into it and saw that Ken Williamson did not work a game this past weekend, and I believe no one else had reported that out there, but the rest of his crew did. Most of them were together for the A&M Arkansas game. A couple of the guys were working elsewhere within the conference, but they were all working except for him. So that further confirmed that, hey, this is probably something true. So we wrote something on it, reached out to the SEC for comment, and then within an hour they leaked to they informed the ESPN and The Athletic that he'd been suspended. So that's just kind of how the way the media works, and I don't think either of you guys are surprised. My other response is what we wrote was off of Terry McCauley's comments about that Ken Williamson was being treated very unfairly. And can you imagine a quarterback getting benched for throwing an interception? And my general response to that was, that happens every single weekend in high school, college, and professional football. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, there's quarterbacks getting benched, coaches getting fired every single weekend. And the frustration that all of us within the game and observers of the game have is that officials aren't held to that same same set of standards in any of us. If you don't perform, you get let go. And so it's understandable that leagues aren't going to publish statistics and are a little bit cagey with protecting their officials, because it is a hard job. It's ultimately a thankless job. We say quarterbacks and coaches get too much blame when it goes right, and too much credit or too much blame when things go wrong, too much credit when things are going right. Officials get too much blame when it's going wrong, and they never get the credit no one comes up from a football game and says, man, the officials had a great game. So you can understand why leagues are protective of them, but at the same time, players are held accountable for their mistakes. Coaches are. Officials should be as well. So I'm glad the SEC took this stance, although I'm disappointed from a media perspective that they handled it the way they did.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. And I think a lot of us just wondering, like, what does this open up to now? What is this? Is this a big change now moving forward with officiating? Because my whole thing, Zach, has been, I'm not trying to put guys like telephone numbers and addresses out there and like get them all publicly shamed, but like the sport's just going to a level where the officiating just needs to be better, especially in the big games across the board. And we don't need to be going, well, that's an SEC crew, or this guy's got, like, it doesn't need to be as much of a factor as it seems to be sometimes, if that makes sense.
Right. And certainly we don't need to, on the one hand, I kind of think that more information is better and more transparency will probably create more trust in the system. But at the same time, it's probably not a good thing if we're all logging onto our computers on a Monday morning and checking out the SEC official rankings. Oh, this guy, he's the number 14 rated center judge in the SEC. It's probably not good information for all of us to have. So I'd be lying if I said I had a magic bullet solution to fix this, but there does need to be more trust in the system. And I think simply just making officials available to comment in certain situations. I know a lot of times they'll talk to a pool reporter, but in general, you're just getting one canned quote, and the conferences don't want to talk. And I think at some point, if you were just come out and say, "Yeah, I'm human. I messed that one up, and I missed that call, and here's why. Here's what I should have done. I should have done better." I think people would ultimately be understanding of that, because we all make mistakes.
Well, I mean, just going back to that call in the OU Ole Miss game, which was meant to be deceiving, and it deceived everybody. If the officials had just said after the game, like, yeah, we got confused in the moment of what was really going on and didn't catch it.
Which call, Paul?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The one where they pretended a guy was going out of the game and he didn't. Yeah. They scored a touchdown on that play. If that one was just explained of like, yeah, hey, we didn't catch it either, we now know to look for it. Like, there's nothing nefarious about it. It's just like, yeah, they got us too. It happens. Like, good job, Brent Venables. You snookered us.
Well, the confusing thing about that one, and I hate to use the word suspicious because it implies something I'm not trying to imply, but the question that was leading from that was Oklahoma's side of the story was, we cleared this with the officials ahead of time. And the SEC statement never addressed that. And so either the SEC officials weren't as aware of the rule as they should have been, or they knew it and just forgot about it. But again, it's a lack of transparency, a lack of answering all the questions that just leads to speculation, conspiracy, and undue attention that nobody wants. It's not good for anyone.
Yeah, no, completely agree. We don't need to be talking and spend a lot of time talking about officiating because that's never for good reasons. But, man, 11 open coaching jobs now after this past week. And it seems like 2 months ago that Billy Napier was fired, probably because we've been talking about it being the case for like 2 years now, Zach. But he is officially out the door. I guess just what's kind of been your reaction throughout the week, seeing the fallout, the speculation, where does Florida turn, and just kind of how that adds another element to this carousel that's filling up, and yet you could look at like 7 other jobs and go, they could be on this thing in the next week as well.
Yeah, my initial top-line reaction, it was that the biggest Monday storyline was the jobs that didn't open. And you have a statement from Florida State, a statement from Wisconsin, of why you haven't moved on from your head coach in the middle of the season, when last year I don't think we had a single Power 4 in-season move. And now here we are at 11. Now, obviously not all those are in-season and not all are Power 4, but the majority of them are. And we're releasing statements when we're not firing coaches mid-season. And you have Hugh Freeze openly begging for the quote-unquote dreaded vote of confidence, come out and saying, yeah, that'd be great if he'd give me some support. And today that still has not happened. So that tells you where we are. As to Florida, I certainly am going to join the chorus in saying that search starts with Lane Kiffin. And if you're Florida, you hope it ends there. I mean, Florida's been trying to recreate the Steve Spurrier magic since he left. And Lane's the closest thing to Steve Spurrier that we've had since the head ball coach himself. So I saw a report from Molly McGrath at ESPN that said he's going to address this with his players. Lane's rep by Jimmy Sexton, who's the Scott Boras of college football agents. So I think Lane's going to extract every bit of leverage he has to get a massive deal done. Keith Carter said, I think it was a week ago today, Ole Miss's AD, that they're going to try and put a big deal in front of Lane, get him an assignment right now. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know how this is going to play out. The fact that Ole Miss is, I think, playing for basically a playoff bid Saturday morning at Oklahoma, that's going to complicate things if they play into January. So I think there's a lot of twists and turns, and I think we're in for kind of a long haul here, and I don't know where it goes, but I feel very confident that it's going to start with Lane.
With Lane, is the grass greener in Gainesville, though?
That's a fair question, because Ole Miss was certainly ahead of Florida in their NIL operation. Like, they were early movers. They obviously built last year's team that was more talented than this year's team through the portal, through NIL, and Florida was well behind. I remember Florida had kind of dueling collectives. The one had to get shut down. They had the whole Jaden Rashada fiasco. So it certainly did not seem like they had their ducks in a row, whereas Ole Miss did. But I think if you're Florida, I think your argument is, listen, our stadium is 50% larger than Ole Miss's, and we actually fill it week in, week out. And you've been really good at the portal. We will help you be good at the portal, but you won't have to be as good, because we're a lot closer to the players you want, the difference makers that win you and lose you SEC championships here. And I also think there's a little bit of – I know Lane has complained a little bit about the student support at Ole Miss. So part of me wonders if that's kind of him laying the groundwork for saying, like, I don't have the support here at Ole Miss to go out and win a national championship.
Well, he'd have it in Gainesville. I mean, that's one of those places where they're nuts. Like, they are – it's ingrained in their identity as students, is the football program. So he would certainly have it there. I just wonder, like – in this new era, like, we're in the post-Signetti era now of he went and stamped it like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, how, like, you'd have to really, really, really come with a better job than a lot of the ones these guys have to make me want to jump and go through all those hoops if I'm building something and doing well.
Yeah, and certainly Lane's going to, if he does end up leaving, he's going to have a lot of quotes thrown back into his face about how happy he is. His entire family, as I understand it, now lives in Oxford. He's talked about how the Ole Miss community has really embraced him and made it feel like home, especially after Monty's passing. Chris Kiffin, his brother, their family lives in Oxford now. So it would definitely be, it would take some time for him to live those quotes down, much like Nick Saban still has the "I'm not going to be the Alabama coach" quote thrown at him from time to time. So I think if you're laying you have two great options in front of you. You can continue winning at Ole Miss, or you can restart your clock and make a whole lot of money at Florida. And it ultimately boils down to what he values in life and who's going to provide him and his roster the most money.
Any feel, while we're talking about Ole Miss, any feel in that Ole Miss-Oklahoma game tomorrow? That seems like a very interesting one that you can make a case both ways pretty easily.
Yeah, I lean Oklahoma just because I trust them more, even though their offense as of 2 weeks ago was putrid. But the South Carolina performance was what you wanted to see. I listened to a lot of Oklahoma voices, and they were all kind of unanimously calling for, we need to be in more traditional air raid, 3x1 sets, light boxes. That's the only way we're going to run the football. Get these tight ends off the field that aren't blocking anybody. All they do is bring people we can't block into the box, and that's gumming up our run game. And it seems like the coaching staff agreed, and they had a fairly comfortable win at South Carolina. Ole Miss, played absolutely great for 3 quarters at Georgia, and you could say that performance right there was better than anything Oklahoma's done so far. But the fact that Ole Miss is going on the road for a second straight week while Oklahoma gets to go home, I lean Oklahoma here.
Zach, Texas A&M they have maybe finally shed their past a little bit. They look like a team that can win in a lot of different situations. They're a lot calmer. They have tacticians running both sides of the ball, which is something I don't think you can really say that they've had since maybe Cliff Kingsbury running the offense with Johnny Manziel. Like, it's been that long since it's been that kind of precision that they have during games. Yes, they have their limitations. Do you think that they can maybe breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief if they get out of Death Valley this weekend with another win? Something they have not done since they joined the SEC.
Absolutely, I think you can. For one, you shake the 8-4 jokes, at least for 1 year, because you have Samford ahead of you, and A&M is not losing to Samford under any circumstances. So at the very worst, you're 9-3. But of course, if you start 9-0 or 8-0, excuse me, you have much bigger goals than 9-3, and justifiably so. I heard you guys before the break, and I absolutely agree that at 10-2, A&M's making the playoff because they have that Notre Dame win has aged wonderfully for them. That is an ace in the hole that at some point I'm going to go through and rank this once we get the committee rankings. But as of now, I'm struggling to think of a better non-conference win that frankly anybody has than going into Notre Dame Stadium and winning that game. And if this season ends up becoming the season that A&M hopes to have, you're going to point back to that touchdown and that game, especially that last touchdown and the uncalled penalty, because that's a game A&M would have found to lose for the last, going back to 1939. And they found a way to win this one. And if the battered Aggie syndrome is broken, the Aggie curse is broken, that's going to be the moment that everyone points to, because that win, if they get to 10-2, a 10-2 Oklahoma doesn't have a win like that. A 10-2 Ole Miss doesn't have a win like that. A 10-2 Alabama doesn't have one like that. Tennessee, go down the list in the SEC. Only A&M really has one of those eighth in the hole type wins in non-conference play.
So, Zach, there was a conversation we were having like 3 weeks ago on this show. It was like, would you take Texas Tech or the field in the Big 12 right now? And then last weekend happens, and they take that first loss, and they're in real no danger this weekend against Oklahoma State, but they did eat a loss that I don't think they were really anticipating. They still got BYU coming up, but now BYU's got this undefeated record, as does a Cincinnati. Arizona State's obviously in the mix. So your thoughts on the Big 12 coming out of last weekend, and how much, if at all, did BYU's win and Texas Tech's loss kind of changed maybe where your head's at?
Yeah, I'm still taking Tech in the field, although I understand arguments are Tech over the field. I understand arguments to the contrary. It's despite the fact that Texas Tech looked very much like they're going to go undefeated and unchallenged. It's very, very difficult to go undefeated, and you're going on the road in conference play with a backup quarterback that's a redshirt freshman, and he looked at times, for most of that game, like a redshirt freshman. making his first real start on the road in conference play. So even still, you found a way to come back and take the lead in that game, and you were a miracle throw away from winning that game. So I don't have a long-term – I guess my long-term fear for Texas Tech, if they don't end up winning it, is the most important ability is availability. And it seems – I don't have numbers here, so no one throw that at me, but it seems like the amount of games that Baron Morton has started and finished completely healthy is about 50-50 to the games he's missed or the games he's left. And you need that guy. He's your starting quarterback for a reason, and you need him to be healthy to go out and win this conference, because it's a deep league, and the challengers have emerged, and one of them, as you mentioned, is coming to your place in a couple weeks.
Zach, you got to see South Florida in person a couple weeks ago. USF plays at Memphis, which is a huge game in the American, in the American. Memphis took a hickey against UAB last week, which now they need to win out, or that one's going to look really bad when it comes to a group of 16 making the playoff. Do you think that the Bulls are just head and shoulders above a lot of the other teams in that league, and that this is kind of theirs to lose right now?
Yeah, I think it's definitely theirs to lose, and I haven't seen every American team in person, so I'm not going to say this definitively, but I can say they look different than North Texas did, especially on the lines of scrimmage. And North Texas went out and hammered UTSA the following week, and we all think UTSA is a pretty solid program. So for Memphis, this is what's so fascinating about college football still, even in the era of the 12-team playoff, is that over an 8-day period, your season could completely go 180. I mean, Memphis had the longest winning streak in college football next to Ohio State. They were in the top 25, looking for possibly a game day game. If they had won, there's a good argument that game day is in Memphis tomorrow instead of Nashville. And now it's like, if we lose, we're underdogs, and if we don't pull an upset, our season is a disappointment. And that's what I find so fascinating about this sport. And South Florida has an identity that they play to. They're really well coached, and they are big and athletic up front.
I think it's both these coaches are going to be up for other jobs. But Alex Golish, if he's in the playoff, again, that makes it harder for teams to negotiate with him and wait that out. But Ryan Silverfield, he's a guy that gets talked about a little bit, but I do think needs to be talked about a little bit more, because his teams are ridiculously efficient and good. And maybe not every job that's open not every job is a fit for everyone, but I wouldn't say Arkansas is not a total fit for him, or Oklahoma State wouldn't be a bad one for him. I think he needs to get some run in this cycle for sure.
Yeah, and especially in regards to Arkansas, you're recruiting a lot of the same places you are at Arkansas. And if you are Arkansas, you need your biggest is you need someone who can figure out a way to open the wallets of the Tyson family, the Jones family, which good luck there. They don't even open their wallets for the team they own, or the Walton family. If you can find that person, then they move to the front of the line. But every single one person, you got to figure out a way to find players at the University of Arkansas. And it's not like finding players at any other SEC school for a variety of different reasons. So the fact that he recruits a lot of the same areas, even not the same players, but the same areas, it certainly helps. I think off the top of my head, and I don't have a job for this, but Ryan Silverfield right now strikes me as one of those guys that would be open for one of those second level power four jobs. If I'm making this up, but let's say Kenny Dillingham goes to Florida, then I could see Arizona State looking at Ryan Silverfield or a job like that as a replacement for him. I don't see him fairly or unfairly as a candidate for a Florida or a Penn State or one of those top level jobs.
No, but he's ready for a power conference job. I think he's proven that.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's kind of flown over the radar at a program where he's been there long enough to where he kind of becomes a victim of his own success, because not super long. I know Mike Norvell was there and won there, but not super long ago, Memphis was among the biggest dumpster fires in all of Division I football.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. Zach, we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Zach Barnett, footballscoop.com. Coming up next,
Justin Giangrande, NIL agent. I had an opportunity to talk to him last year. It was a great interview. And then it randomly got deleted by someone in our system. We never got to play it. So I got to talk to him earlier today. It's a very fascinating interview. He represents Diego Pavia, Malachi Tony, DJ Lagway, Fran Brown, Michael Vick, and others. He's coming up next. This is 365 Sports.
I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
No car payments for 90 days when you bring your auto loan home to Genco. Get 4.79% for 48 months and make no payments until 2026. Plus, get entered to win 3 months of no car payments. Bring your auto loan home to Genco. Lower your interest rate, save money, and no payments until 2026. For details, go to GencoFCU.org.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Next in line.
365 Sports, Justin Giangrande with Network. You are one of the big-time NIL agents in the country, and you and I talked last year. It was really, really awesome, to kind of get your perspective on things. And in those less than a year, so many different things have changed, and I'm very curious to get your perspective on them. Particularly NIL Go, based on some comments made by Brett Yormark of the Big 12 this week about the way that it's slow. He called it a feature, not a glitch, which I would think is enraging to a lot of people. Not to point fingers, but that's a confusing thing. The other thing is, Justin, do you know what the rules are specifically? Because I don't think coaches know what the rules are. I know players sure don't know what the rules are because they're kids. They're not, they're just now in this. If I look down your player roster of DJ Lagway and Malachi Tony and Diego Pavia, well, Diego Pavia's been in this for a minute. Malachi Tony's been in this for like an hour. It's not, he's barely a student. He's just been on campus.
Barely 18. He's barely 18.
He's barely 18. So how can you
got a driver's license? I'm pretty sure we got a driver's license.
So how can you guys do your job if you don't know really what the parameters are?
I mean, it's not that I don't think people know what the parameters are. It's that people don't believe that people are deciding, is it actually serious? Is there enforcement? How serious can you take something that doesn't have, they claim that there's a process, right? But it's not the same every time, right? It's not rinse and repeat. And, this just kind of goes back to, I think, when the settlement went through, and I know we talked a while ago, but I think when the settlement went through, this was a piece of the puzzle that they just didn't figure out, right? It's like, we want to police this, which obviously also felt just very overreaching anyway. It's like, you gave us the opportunity to do the settlement. And, 5 years ago, they decided that NIL was legal and that anyone could monetize themselves. But like, let's go back to this again. Now we all have to put something through a portal. It just doesn't make sense. So, and then again, if it's rejected, what is the process if it gets rejected? And then you have to, you can go to arbitration. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't even necessarily waste that much time on it. It's a mess. I think most people are starting to lose credibility with it, right? Like when you have people like commissioners coming out taking shots at it, I mean, how serious can people take it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing we talked about last year was that agents are not against regulation to remove bad actors. Like, you guys want that because the bad actors make your job harder. So if you have regulation to remove the bad actors, you just don't want something that overreaches and tries to pull things back in time, which at least one of these congressional acts is trying to do. And they've already lost all this stuff in court. So I think it's interesting to hear from a perspective of an agent that look, you're running a legitimate business. There are people out there who are running illegitimate versions of that business. You don't want that either.
No, I'm all for it. I think this was their attempt. NIL Go was their attempt to try to put the cap on rev share. And I think they guised it as, ultimately we're trying to make sure these deals are done right, if that makes sense. But it's like a witch hunt to decide of who's using the actual rev share money and deals that are gone over the cap. But the reality is people are spending over the cap. And here we go. Until we have, I said it the last time, until we have both sides of the table at the table, right? You have the players and the front office and the NCAA all together. People are going to continue to skirt the issue. Why? Because boosters and people want the best football and basketball teams they can get. So any crack or crevice that they can exploit, they're going to. So it was just a little bit ridiculous that we thought NIL Go ultimately was going to be the end all be all. I'm not saying, look, we follow the rules, we submit things for our clients submit things. I'm just saying, everyone, you need to address the actual, root of the problem, not just the symptom. And it feels like with NIL Go, we're just addressing the symptom.
Yeah, it certainly does. What do you think about, or how have players reacted to some of the new rules, particularly the new transfer portal rules of one window, January 2nd to the 16th, and now the coach's departure window, which is 5 days after the new coach is hired, and then they have 15 extra days, I guess, suppose on top of that they could jump in right away to the portal. How have players responded to that? Are they okay with that? Or is that something you see needing to be changed, maybe something closer back to what it was?
Look, you got to be an equal opportunist here. I'll also give them credit when they do good things. This, I think, was great. I think this is great for the whole ecosystem. Look, I think that it's preventing a lot of unnecessary movement. Does that make sense? At the end of the day, you went to a school and you, of course, want to see who that new coach is, but because you didn't see, because you weren't afforded the opportunity to see out that coach, you chose to get in the portal, which is a lot of administrative headache anyway. I mean, I have players on teams that coaches got fired who were actually considering transferring before just for different reasons. that now they're excited to see who the new coach is because they're going to get a fresh start potentially. So I'm a big fan of the rules that they changed to the portal dates. And I think kids and students are actually excited about it too, because all they want, right? Like imagine being in the portal and then trying to guess if the coach is going to leave or be there. It's a lot. So at least we know now most 95% of coaches will be solidified by the time that the portal opens. I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah, I think the ones that maybe wouldn't are guys who might leave a place after the playoff.
Yeah,
you know, that they've decided, well, I'm going to this place. Let's
they have, I also think they gave them, I think it's like what additional dates. It's like 7 days or something, 10 days after the playoff they can enter up to. So let's be honest, if you're playing in a playoff game and you choose to leave, most likely you probably have a pretty good feeling of where you're going.
Yeah.
I mean, and let's also just put the obvious, 92% of this happens behind the scenes regardless. Like, my job is speaking to GMs and getting a feel for players and what they're looking for and different things like that.
Yeah. How have you found the addition of the GM onto the college staff? Is that helpful in what you do? Because if you're talking to pro teams, you are talking to a GM. You may only talk to a coach in certain instances when the coach maybe needs to send a message through you to a player, or something like that. But how do you feel that's helped or changed things?
It's been good, very good. I think if we're, there's 9 innings, we're in the fourth inning here.
Okay.
Still think some teams are figuring out, get the GM. What is the role and responsibility of the GM? Does it report to the football coach? Does it report to the AD? Is it like traditional NFL, right? Where the front office is themselves and then the coach is just the coach. So I think we're still finding the footing, but I definitely think it's been positive.
Yeah. I want to talk about a couple of your clients. One, I know that you have Mike Vick and Fran Brown under your umbrella now. Fran Brown was here at Baylor for a little bit. I got to know him very short time, but you could tell he was a different breed of coach that was going to have success in the right spot. He is like, our producer at Garrett talk about Fran Brown all the time. We love him. We like, because he is so different and he thinks about things differently.
Yes.
What if
things differently? That's it's like, it's funny. I'll hear something and he'll hear something and he goes a different whole lane and thought process than I would ever, for sure.
Yeah. And then of course, Michael Vick, I think there's probably not many people as uniquely positioned based on his journey in life and his openness about his journey in life to deal with young athletes that don't know anything yet, right? You don't know until you know. And I was there at FSU when we beat Mike Vick in the championship game. I was always a fan of his because I watched the third quarter in person where I saw a man take over a game against the best team in the country and almost win it single-handedly. And then I watched as he, went through the NFL career and had his fall and then was so open about the journey and learning afterwards. When I heard he was going to be coaching, I'm like, well, that makes totally perfect sense.
Yeah. On Fran, one of the reasons we wanted to work with him is he's charismatic. As you said, he's the results are results. He won the Recruiter of the Year award. And I think that's because of his ability to just connect with both parents and families. I think he's authentic. I'm hoping, that they can really, get back to the winning side on towards the end of the season. They lost their quarterback, which has been really tough. Anytime you lose your starting quarterback, it's not easy. They were rolling too. I think they had 3 straight wins. They had just beat Clemson, right? So, but he's special. His coaching career, he's doing it at Syracuse. In my opinion, there's no way that he doesn't continue to ascend. It's cool to see what he's doing at Syracuse. He's getting, he's getting clients from kids from all over the country, which is special. And then Mike, I was with Mike last week on his break down here in Fort Lauderdale. They've had a tough start to the season. He's learning the pieces of coaching that you have to make tough decisions. I think he moved on from his defensive coordinator. I think he's learned, getting better and better each day. But he loves it. I wasn't sure, after losing isn't fun, right? And right now, I think you have a losing record, but he looks at it as it's a learning process, and that every day he's getting better, and it's a challenge. I think it's fun for these guys that are used to competing. This is a different muscle than the days when he would go out for FSU versus Virginia Tech. Like, he's got to figure out a way to win and motivate this team. I think he definitely is able to relate. I definitely think in Norfolk, he's able to touch kids at a deeper level than some others might. And hopefully he can, really have a positive impact.
You also have, I think, maybe the most beloved guy that is not on your team of anybody in college football right now, in Diego Pavia. Like, if you're not a fan of Diego Pavia, it means he beat you. I think that's what it means. Because he's
special, man. He's different. I mean, I'll tell you guys a story. You're gonna think I'm crazy. In the spring, I sat down with him, or maybe it was in Nashville, and I looked at him and I said, we're eating, and I'm like, so man, you had a great season. Like, what's the goal this year? Like, you guys maybe make the playoffs, like 9-3, 8-4. And he looked at me like I was a crazy person. He's like, dude, we're going undefeated. Like, we are winning a national championship. And when I tell you, I don't know if I've ever seen like conviction. Like, it actually told me a lot about why he's successful. His true belief in that. He wasn't pretending that. Like, that's actually what his expectation was. And it goes back to, that is what, that's how you lead, right? Like, it's unwavering resilience and belief in yourself. We did this deal for Blanco Golf, which is a golfing line with Julian Edelman and Ryan Felipe, and he did a partnership with them. He's actually an owner in it, which is super cool. And man, he's the Pat McAfee of actual college football currently, right?
Yeah,
he's special.
He's beloved. We followed his career last year, and like, man, because we saw him at New Mexico and thought like, oh, this is going to be fun if he goes to a place where people will see him more, which he has. And he's grown to, he's a college football, he's a college football legend now, in that people will always remember him. Like, he will always be remembered. And no matter what happens with the rest of his career, it will be like, man, that Diego Pavia, like people are going to look back. Those were the days with Diego Pavia. Also, I'm a huge fan of his, although he broke my heart a month ago and just stabbed it through. And Malachi Toney, he is. I don't know if the country knows, like, especially when you can keep a kid that's from Miami and from Michael Irvin, same place, Liberty City, that area. If the state of Miami comes back, that Howard Schnellenberger and Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson had, that's a missive to the rest of the world of, oh, guess who's gotten control. I think he's maybe a little bit of the avatar for that for Mario Cristobal.
He is the bridge, there's no question, from old Miami to new Miami. There's a lot of legends who think, like exactly what you said, that he's bringing it back. I'm not sure why. I think it's because of the way he plays, but I think also him being a leader from such an early age. Kid was literally 17 against Notre Dame, if you guys think about that. Okay. Yeah. Here's what I've been impressed with. He said he was going to do this. Like, he is not surprised. Like, him and his mom are not surprised by what's going on, not in an ego way. This was his level of expectation for himself. Like, this is just, and he's leading that wide receiver room from like a maturity level. Like, he's special. And I also think it comes from, like you said, about playing in South Florida. He played big time high school football, right? So he was used to what that looks like, the pressure that comes with it. It's been a lot of fun. It's not something where you're like wondering like, oh, is he going to perform this week? He's going to perform every week. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like it, to be honest with you. He carries himself like a 10-year NFL veteran who just happens to be 18.
What are your feelings about the overall state of where things are? You mentioned like some things are good, some things are not, they're in the fourth inning of 9 innings. What do you think is the overall state right now? Because fans can look in and just they see all this, kind of cash grab that's going on, and they hurt for the game that they love a little bit. But I think a lot of it is because they're very confused about it. What do you think is the overall state of the game? Is it good? Is it medium? Like where is it? And is it headed in a better track than maybe people know?
I think it's good because it's entertaining, and college sports has never been more entertaining. So the movement and the opportunity and the parity has been good. Kids getting paid has been good because it helps them and it's put more money into the ecosystem. What's interesting is the more money into the ecosystem, just by paying the players, somehow seem to dump more money into the overall investment into mixed use retail, the experience for the fan, which I don't really understand why. Because if you think about it, the product still existed, but it's because the NIL era came that all of a sudden there's more notoriety. I mean, you can't tell me that college football is not, and the storylines in it are not more interesting than pro football. There's no question. Because is Lane Kiffin going to Florida? Who's gonna? If Brian Kelly loses this week, is he gonna just get out of there before they fire him? Like all of these things, they're unbelievable storylines, and because the rules are so up and down and can change daily. I mean, think about it, guys. Like they came out and said that they're gonna, there's still more to go, but they're gonna legalize gambling that people can bet on, can market gambling sites. The next day, the NBA stuff comes out, right? It's like. It's a soap opera. I mean, it's literally every day. There's unbelievable storylines, the social media that, ramps this all up, and talent can come from nowhere and become, super famous and interesting in a matter of time.
What do you think the next phase of how front offices work? Do you see it maybe taking an NFL model more and more in that, there'll be some coaches on staff that recruit and then some coaches that don't. And it'll be more focused on these guys are kind of recruiting side, these guys are football side. And then when the season starts, you're the tight end coach, but because you're a Tim Brewster like recruiter, you're going to be maybe more on the recruiting side than say, the offensive coordinator might just see the guys when they come in.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're going towards more of the front office. I think ultimately to get this to the right place, these guys need to become employees. What that looks like, how long that takes. I mean, it's hard to systemize anything that there's an underlying foundational issue, right? Which is what's the compensation that people can spend? And that's not solved. And honestly, I don't see that being solved for 2 years. And it's going to take what I said to you, getting everyone at the table. So it's like everyone's doing their best that they can, which, by the way, presents huge opportunity for schools, right? Like at the end of the day, if you can move fast and you can maximize the time, you can basically make your school super relevant. But I think until they come up with a uniformity across it, it's going to be really tough for every school to have a systemized process.
How do you get to collective bargaining or something like it when, if I'm a professional athlete, I'm collectively bargaining for my career that could be 1 year or 20 years. If I'm a welder, I'm collectively bargaining in that union because that's my career. Now, a college athlete, you are collectively bargaining for a fixed time to be determined by the rules and this bargain. So it's a little bit different than the other things because it's finite. As where the other things can be for until your body tells you no, you can be a professional athlete or a welder or whatever. You can do that.
I think Diego Pavia is going on like year 32. So no, I think you have to do it by a cap. Does that make sense? Like I do understand, like you can't, like you said, you can't do it based on eligibility. I think it has to just be on year-to-year spending, which makes it a little different, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I definitely understand your point, and it's a good point. That it's not apples to apples from pro.
Yeah, I'm curious as to why some of the pro associations have not maybe reached out to create a bubble within there. and maybe that's in the future, but where these are the former amateur athletes that we are now, we are now negotiating for, and we have this wing of ours. They haven't said anything yet, but again, maybe it's not in their best interest to at this time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
Justin, I love talking to you. You were great education for our listeners, for me, in all of this. It's always awesome to talk to you. Thank you so much for hopping on again, and I hope we get to do it again soon.
Absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you guys.
That is Justin Giangrande. This is 365 Sports.
0% for 72 months on all 2025 Ram 1500 trucks during the Drive-In to Fall event at Allen Samuels in Waco. Check out a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab with a massive $16,000 off, or a 2025 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $12,000 off, and both at 3.9 for 72 months. And if you drive a Ford, Toyota, or GM, get an extra $1,500 bonus cash. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code SPORTS365 to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code SPORTS365. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 and up. 19 and up in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 and up, and in Colorado for some games, 21 and up in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And must be present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak with you here on 365 Sports. And we continue with our news and notes from earlier in the show. First off, just a couple days ago, we had talked about Chad Weiberg, the Oklahoma State athletic director, and how he was currently working without a deal. Well, that is no longer true, Craig, as he has now signed a 4-year contract. I don't want to say it as extension because he didn't have a deal, so a 4-year contract.
Yeah, Chad Weiberg is somebody who we talked about yesterday or 2 days ago, as you mentioned, and I pointed out that while Smokey had mentioned that he had signed a contract, that he hadn't signed a contract, and that was actually a big to-do about Stillwater, was the questions of, okay, well, when is he going to sign this contract, and what's the holdup in signing this contract, and are we sure he's going to sign this contract? Because, I mean, now I fired the football coach, so we need a guy to hire the next one, and how's all that going to work? And I kept pointing out, well, Chad Weiberg's, like, they keep saying he's got a deal, he just hasn't signed it, but that all signs were pointing to him getting this done and that he would be the guy leading the football search and all of that. And so without further ado, although there was a lot of it there for a while, they have finally completed that deal. And so Chad Weiberg is tacked on this new 4-year contract to move forward with Oklahoma State. And so they've made that choice, and they've now made it all official. So no more speculating on if and when and all of those kinds of details, which it depends on which kind of Oklahoma State fan you're talking to, if they like this news or not. I mean, there's some people that I think are definitely on the more negative side, like with anything else in the world, whether you're talking about like your favorite French fry or what you think about the AD at a school. Everybody's got different opinions. And there's certainly some Oklahoma State fans that I guess are not big believers, but there are a lot of people that while football stinks right now, and everybody's well aware, and clearly they're hiring a new head coach, so they've made the call there already. He has made an incredible hire in wrestling, which that matters greatly up there in Stillwater, and also I think they're pretty high on the basketball side of things as well, and the future trajectory there. So I think there's some positive hires he's made, and now we'll see on what they do on the football side. But I would anticipate it being a great hire because, well, it needs to be. A lot riding on it, but also I think it's a great job, and I think there will be a lot of worthy candidates that will want this job. So I can't wait to see the deeper details of when we start to get into like actual names and not just like the kind of preliminary scuttlebutt, but when we know like, hey, they've reached out and they are talking to, or they're closing in on, and all that. I'm looking forward to it because it's been tough to really talk about Oklahoma State too much the last couple of years without it being negative. I mean, we pointed out the graphic earlier where they 1-19 in their last 20 Power 5 games or whatever that stat said. So it's been bad, like bad. And I'm looking forward to the new guy who's going to roll in and try to turn that back into something that Mike Gundy and all the rest of the Cowboys out there would be proud of.
Yeah, by the way, he's not getting a raise. He was making $750,000, and he's going to continue to make $750,000. So I would think his raise would come on the next one if the football hire goes well and basketball starts to finally come back into its own. That's one of the biggest shocks to me, that Oklahoma State basketball has fallen to where it is, because they are super big basketball people at that school. And but I do think that it hinges on that. And he's not getting a raise, but they have solidified that spot. Now we can kind of genuinely, like, I know people have already been doing it, but now that Chad Weiberg is for sure, because anytime a guy doesn't have a contract, you wonder, okay, does he not have a contract because they're trying to figure it out like they were, or does he not have a contract because they haven't completely made up their mind on him yet?
Well, I mean, I don't know all the dirty details of what all led into the length of the negotiations or what all they were trying to do with the contract. But yeah, that is notable to not have any type of raise. Seems unbelievable, really, because it's not often, if ever, that we see a coaching contract or an AD contract or something that's being renewed or made new again, and it's not for more money. I mean, there's some exceptions, like Brent Venables taking less money this offseason, probably with a gun to his head, basically. But still, like, there are some examples where that's happened. But yeah, just kind of stay pat, I guess, speaks to where they are. And yeah, what have you done to deserve to make a bunch more money? I mean, as we're haggling out the details here. So yeah, there's a lot to prove for him still, and obviously for Oklahoma State. But I think the majority of people that I've seen are probably pretty happy with the move now, just they can get over it. Like, no more of, well, he is, but it's just not official, or like he's going to be the guy that makes the hire, but they just got to work out this. It's like, now, okay, that's done. You don't have to worry about the contract anymore, one way or the other. Now it's all eyes on football and this hire, and it will be the biggest hire that he makes. But again, I think they're excited about the basketball trajectory, and certainly about wrestling. But you're right on the basketball. I mean, growing up, that was a staple, was Oklahoma State basketball. They were going to be in the mix. They were going to be good and competitive. And it's been very, very down. Sometimes there's some ups, but it's been mostly down for a while now.
And not to leave out the biggest detail in this is the NCAA's very bogus penalty of them.
Yes, I was going to say that it wasn't all without like them just
sucked all the air out of the program for a couple of years. It's been hard to get it back.
Yeah, and arguably unfair punishment at that, when you looked around and felt like you got dinged a bit too hard, or that others should have at least gotten dinged the way that you did if you were going to get dinged. But yeah, that obviously came into play as well, and so that needs to be a part of talking about the story of their basketball struggles. But yeah, Oklahoma State needs to matter in basketball. It makes the whole league better, and it's the way it's supposed to be. So I'm excited to see what Steve Lutz and the men can do. And on the women's side, I think you're feeling like it's going in the right direction. So Chad Weiberg's official now, and they can move on from that. For the handful that we're worried about that, wet blanket among others. But Oklahoma State's made that official. So we are fully into coach watch at this point with them. And I've looked around a little bit, and not much seems like it's changed as far as the targets and who the likely candidates are. But I think it's a great job, like I said a few minutes ago, and I'm super excited to see who can, bring a spark back to that program, because they desperately need it. And as much as I talk about, well, basketball needs to be good, Oklahoma State football has been a mainstay for 20 years. And these last 2 years have been as bottom of the barrel as I've seen in my lifetime. So that definitely has a lot of work to do, but I think whoever that coach is will have the right setup, because now there's the AD's taken care of, and everybody on the money side of things and the fans and all of that, they all know how important this is, and they're all gathering up their piles of cash, and they're all understanding of this is a critical hire for them. Like, this is a can't screw it up type of hire. So they're getting everything ready, and I expect them to be very aggressive and to be smart with how they go about approaching this critical hire for that football program. Because as Chad Weiberg said, I'm not just saying that, in his opening press conference talking about Mike Gundy's fire, and he brought up the fact that TV contracts are running out here in the next 5 years, started like 2030, that little time frame, as most people who follow realignment are aware. And he said that typically the predecessor to realignment is the new television contracts. And since nobody seems to know what the hell is going to happen, like, does the SEC want to expand? Does the Big Ten want to expand? What does the ACC look like? We know the Big 12's always on the hunt, and yet they could always lose more teams as well. But I think Oklahoma State knows that they're on that line of like, it would all depend on the details, but they are not a shoo-in for like a super league scenario, right? They are not. They're more with Iowa State and Baylor and K-State and all these schools than they are with like an Arizona State, which I know might sound crazy, but just because of their
locale,
their locale and all that, like, it's just a little bit different for them. But point being, Weiberg knows that like there's a critical juncture coming up, and they can ill afford to go 1-19 in football again for the next couple of years, or they have no shot of being a part of anything if things were to change, dramatically in some form or fashion. If everything stays pat, then obviously it's no big deal. You still need to get better at football though, regardless. So
you need to plan for every eventuality.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing your job as an athletic director.
Yes.
And it's a way harder job now than it was 5 years ago. And it was harder 5 years ago than it was 10 years before that. But it's never been an easy job. And it continues to get harder. Part of the thing is they make it harder on themselves. But if you are not looking at every avenue that athletics could go down and not prepared for every avenue, then you don't need to be an athletic director. You have to put yourself in position to be able to go wherever it goes.
Yeah, so I think they're just doing what you should be doing, and preparing for the present and also the future. And it's not a unanimously well-received piece of news. There are his detractors, but again, everybody's going to have those. So now they'll turn around and celebrate by upsetting Texas Tech tomorrow in Lubbock. No, they will not. But I am curious to see how that game goes, man. That point spread actually dropped down a little bit. It was 38.5, and last I looked, it was like 36. So for the real sickos out there trying to, man, should I or shouldn't I? I'm glad I don't have that bug, but I did see the line dropped a little bit. So I don't know what that means other than just the way the money's coming in. But good luck to Oklahoma State tomorrow.
It means that
Yeah.
people don't think they're going to score as many points as they do.
Yeah, probably because Will Hammond's playing rather than Baron Morton. I don't know, but yeah, good luck to Oklahoma State tomorrow because that could get really ugly. And I guess the good news is like, hey, man, by the time this weekend's over, I mean, we're looking at 5 weeks till the end of the season, which is crazy to say. And it won't be too long till they're announcing that new head football coach. And I know that's what everybody's really excited about.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what people want to hear. Okay. Earlier, Zach Barnett mentioned Molly McGrath's report on Lane Kiffin talking to his players. Here is what Lane told her he was going to say. By the way, I wanted your opinion on this, Craig. He's going to talk to them and say, hey, this is what happens when you win. This is a compliment to our players, our staff, and our entire program. He wants to talk to his players about it because there's so many new guys on their team this year that haven't dealt with it before. Where have we heard that before, Craig?
Every coaching hire? No.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what Matt Rule said to us. I remember, like that's almost verbatim.
In
almost
New
verbatim.
Orleans, in the hotel, what was it? The Riverwalk Hotel? Was that what? Or no, it's the Hilton.
Yeah, the Hilton.
The Hilton, New Orleans, there by the river.
Look, it was the one with Dragos in it. So,
yeah. Well, he. I was thinking about where we're staying. That didn't have Dragos in it.
Well, I stayed at that hotel. Me and Q did.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess were we in a different spot? Okay, I guess we were.
Because then
Anyways,
down the
doesn't
street was
matter.
the media hotel. I think we were in that one though.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I'm thinking of the last trip we were there, the second Sugar Bowl trip.
Yeah.
We were at the Hilton Riverwalk, I think
Yeah.
that it was. But yeah, I mean, Matt Rule during that, I guess that would have been the 2020 Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
Was that the 2020
Yeah.
Sugar Bowl? Yeah, because then Aranda gets hired and COVID hits.
Yeah.
Right then. Yeah. So we heard him say a lot of things, and it was just something we got sort of used to, and non-answers to every question because he had to keep it open and didn't want to sit there and just bald-faced lie. And no, I'll never go anywhere else. He didn't want to make those mistakes, but also could never go far enough to just stomp out anybody's fears because he very clearly was talking to the other side and was very open-minded. He was very interested to the point of he did leave, but this is after like 2 years prior to that of even when they were like 1-11, him turning down job offers or interviews or having them or whatever. So yeah, Matt Rule, that was an experience, man. I really like him. I appreciate him, but the constant never-ending speculation surrounding his job from the moment he stepped foot on campus to like 3 years later, it just sucked. It sucked the wind and life out of a lot of the enjoyment of covering the program. And I still enjoyed it, but that part was really aggravating. But you know what? Hey, I would love to have been in this position and have teams calling me up. Hey, you want more money? And when it come move to here? So yeah, I mean, Paul, like, believe what you want to hear when any coach is talking about potential jobs and talking to his team and all of that. I'm of the opinion that unless you go as far as Kurt Cignetti did, then you're interested in that other job.
Yep.
So I have no doubts that Lane Kiffin, he would be a moron not to be listening to other suitors at this point, Florida or whoever it would be, to at least get that pay bump that you're going to get as a result of all of this. So you got to play the game, and his agent's got to play the game. I think he's probably interested in leaving for a better gig. If Florida is that gig, then I could definitely see him taking that. I think he'd make a lot of sense as the Spurrier of 2025 or whatever rolling in there.
He's built his whole vibe on it.
Yeah.
Of being the sequel to Spurrier.
Yeah, I would not take anything he's saying right now as anything concrete whatsoever.
Exactly.
But yeah, he's got to talk to the players, and I'm sure because he has been rumored for various jobs the last few years that, at this point it's just kind of a routine of like, well, sit him down, we'll tell him the truth and let him know that like this is what happens when you're successful, like he said, and then you just go about your business as best you can. But there are times when that's okay and it works, and then there's times where they turn around and get beat by Oklahoma because the entire week's been talking about Lane Kiffin to Florida rumors all week long, or they rip roaring and ready to go tomorrow in Norman and they kick OU's ass or something. I don't know what to expect, but that game and that pick of Oklahoma, all this Lane Kiffin speculation makes me feel better about it because there is a chance it could have an effect, I suppose. But
it did on Nebraska.
It did like Nebraska. Yeah, that's the most recent example. All that talk. Now, maybe they still would have got beat up by Minnesota regardless. That wouldn't have been all that crazy.
Minnesota since Obama.
But I definitely don't think it helped. I don't think it helped at all that they were sitting there listening to their head coach having to make proclamations about where he's going to be without actually saying, like, no, I am 100% going to be here. He said he got to the point of like basically 99.99 without going to the full 100, just leaving that door just barely cracked.
When he goes, look, they're my alma mater, and I got to show him some
Yeah,
love.
I got to listen, guys. I got to listen. But I mean, Lane Kiffin's playing the game. I'm sure his agents, I'm not talking to anybody. That's the other move. I'm not talking to anybody. No, because your agent is. So it's plausible deniability.
That's why you hire him.
Yeah.
That's why you hire him.
Yeah, that's their job, is to take care of all that. So, yeah, I think Florida would be – I think Lane Kiffin would be a great hire for them. I think it's a move that would make some sense. I'd be very curious about what Ole Miss would do. I mean, do they go get John Summerall or somebody like that? I don't know. But, that's going to be an interesting domino if it falls for sure. And I think it's very much in play. And you just got to do what you can with your team to just make the best of it as you can until there's, concrete decision-making one way or the other, because until then, he's still the coach at Ole Miss, and you're still very much in the playoff race and the SEC race, and you got a huge game this weekend, and you're a very good team, and this Trinidad Chambliss story is awesome, and there's a lot to like. So hopefully it doesn't take away from the Ole Miss fan experience, although I know it'll be hard not to, because it's just impossible to ignore that kind of noise. It's like the Matt Rule, like, how do you enjoy this when the whole time you're going, is he leaving tomorrow? Like, we want to enjoy New Orleans and the Sugar Bowl and playing Georgia, but like the entire week is spent on whether you're leaving or not. And so, like, even if we win, this all turns into something else after this. So I understand where Ole Miss is, maybe not right now, but where they might be approaching, and that's never fun for fans and supporters. So I feel for them there.
We got to get to Mickey's Bagnall, but I'll make this comparison. Lane Kiffin has made himself, built himself in the Steve Spurrier image. He wears the visor because of Steve Spurrier. He's a smart ass like Steve Spurrier. He does all these things, and Steve Spurrier very lovable too. Now, I think Lane Kiffin is getting more and more to that point where you kind of get it from him.
Oh, brother, there's a whole ass documentary, like PR documentary from ESPN, like the new Lane Kiffin or whatever. He's definitely trying to change his image.
If I could use a comic book reference here, Steve Spurrier is Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, and Lane Kiffin wants to be Scott Lang. That's what he's trying to do. He's like Steve Spurrier, Peter Parker, Lane Kiffin, Miles Morales. Like that's what's going on here. So we'll see what happens. Next up, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Then after that, we're going to go through the Big 12 weekend, the bangers, and the injury report. That's all coming up. This is 365 Sports.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is the solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. The new IRA Insurance Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners at northstarfundingpartners.com.
Ready to take your business to the next level? Carrion Solutions has got you covered. We deliver world-class IT consulting, including Quest On Demand and Migration Manager, M365 and Exchange migrations, Active Directory assessments, security hardening, and Windows Server upgrades. Our experts specialize in consulting, monitoring, support, and managed IT services. We promise vision, professionalism, and unbeatable value. Satisfaction guaranteed. If you're not happy, we make it right. Remember the name Carrion Solutions. For more info, email sales@carrionsolutions.com or visit carrionsolutions.com. That's CARRION solutions.com. Carrion Solutions, IT success guaranteed.
This is Richard Carr, and it's hard to believe, but 2025 marks our 26th year in the car business. I want to thank you for your support over the last 26 years. As a locally owned business, our customers in Central Texas community are also friends and neighbors. If you haven't been by lately, I invite you to come in and experience our amazing lineup of Buick, GMC, and Cadillac vehicles. Our goal is to make you feel like more than just a customer, but as a valued neighbor. Let us show you why we are people you can count on at Richard Carr, Buick, GMC, Cadillac.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Oh, a tie, Mickey. What's going on? What's going on at the Star?
I dress up for you guys. Come on.
Mickey's muted.
Sometimes you got to do TV, and I was kind of running short, getting ready for you boys.
Okay. Well, you look very dapper, Mick. You look very dapper. As usual.
You like the, what is it, the 1,000 Dalmatians?
Yeah, 101 Dalmatians. I love it.
101. Yes. I said 1,000.
I mean, eventually, yes. If there's already 101 of them, they'll get there. Mickey, this Cowboys offense is absolutely ridiculous. And I remember when Brian Schottenheimer got hired, and one of the things was, well, he's got this offensive acumen. It's different. I was like, well, he's been like there, and we haven't seen different yet. So what's his input been? But he's kind of always been in a position where he is kind of additive to what the head coach wants because he's never been a head coach. It seems like he has compiled a playbook and is now just taking this opportunity to be like, all right, guys, here we go. This is what the picture I'm going to paint is. And it looks very different than even his previous stops, other places, because it's so diverse and wide open. It's kind of blowing my mind, Mick, to be honest with you, because I didn't know what to expect.
It helps to have the talent he's working with right now, by the way, to work with a quarterback of Dak Prescott's quality, have a couple wide receivers like George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, throw in Kevontae Turpin, and a tight end like Jake Ferguson, and an offensive line that has a possibility of being back intact for Sunday's game at Denver if Cooper Beebe is ready to go. And if he's not ready this week, he'll be ready next week. So, yeah, you put all that together. But I think the biggest thing is, Paul, that he seems very compatible with Dak Prescott, not only from knowing what Dak likes, but the two of them collaborating on kind of designing this offense. And I think that's huge, where you don't just have a head coach saying, okay, here's what we do, here's what we do, you listen to me. I think he listens to the quarterback, and I think the quarterback listens to Schottenheimer. And now we're starting to see, the ramifications of that relationship. Now, having said all that, this is another big test on Sunday, having to go up against the Denver defense that leads the league in sacks, and not by a little, by 8, and has played pretty well in 4 of the 7 games they've played. They're 5-2 and, made the miraculous comeback against the Giants in the fourth quarter this past Sunday.
Mickey, you watched Bo Nix when he was in the SEC, and then again when he's in Oregon. When he was in the SEC in particular, that went over the Giants, took me back to his Auburn years, where he could play, he could be non-existent for 3 quarters, and then as soon as that 15 minutes in the game pops up, it's like he's like, oh hey, I'm sorry, hangover's over, guys, I'm good now. Like, let's go score some points.
He puts the Superman cape on.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Going back to Dak and Brian Schottenheimer, And I mean, just in the last few years, we haven't had the same kind of access we did because of the kind of changes in media. But, I was there and watched Dak interact with Jason Garrett and with Mike McCarthy. I never felt that he was at odds with anybody that was on the coaching staff, but it's just maybe at a point in the career where they've got a coach and a quarterback who's now a well-vested veteran and not early on in his career who's been through the wars that can kind of be Simon and Garfunkel together as opposed to just two parts of a whole.
Well, if you look at it, Jason Garrett had to raise Dak Prescott, right?
Yeah.
From a raw rookie. I think at times Mike McCarthy could be a little stubborn, and it's like, it's my way. This is what we do. And I think because he served that 1 year as a consultant and then 2 years as McCarthy's right-hand man as a offensive coordinator in name only, I think he had a pretty good feel of what he was inheriting, and maybe all along thinking, well, if it was me, this is what I would do. And if you remember, when the Cowboys and basically Jerry Jones asked Dak Prescott what he thought about Schottenheimer taking over, Dak originally thought, well, yeah, the offensive coordinator, that would be great. Well, it wasn't just the offensive coordinator, it was the head coach. And Dak gave his vote of confidence to the Cowboys doing what they eventually did, is hiring Schottenheimer not only as the offensive coordinator, but as the head coach. So that was pretty good start to the relationship you just talked about.
This week has brought some good injury news to the Cowboys, and that, I know he's going to be the fourth wide receiver, but at best, but Jonathan Mingo's back, so that helps their depth there and helps him start to maybe develop more in the offense if he's got a chance to hang on this team past another year. Siobhan Ravel's practice window has been opened. Cooper Beebe has a chance to play this week. And I think most importantly of all, given that this is the weakest position on the Cowboys right now, their best linebacker on the roster, Demarion Overshone, has his practice window open as well. Does this feel like maybe a bit of a, the clouds parting, especially on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
At least depth-wise.
Yeah, and at least, knowing those guys are on the road to recovery. Now, I would think Overshone and Revel, they're going to need all 21 days of their practice window that's allowed before they're put on the 53-man roster. Let's remember those guys, one of them, Revel, hasn't played football since the third week of his college season at East Carolina last year, and Overshone got hurt basically the first week in December, and neither of them have gone through an off season, have gone through training camp, preseason, any of that. So they're playing football right now for the first time. So I think it would take probably all 21 days before they're actually ready. At least I've heard that Revel and maybe even Overshone a little bit can at least do some things on the practice squad, because it's non-contact stuff, especially on a day like this day, because it's a light practice on Friday. But it's a step in the right direction. And as you said, Beebe, he went through all that stuff. He'd just been on IR for 4 weeks. So it's not going to take him long to get back in the swing of things of playing football. So if he's not the starting center on Sunday, for sure next week, I'll guarantee you he'll be back in the starting lineup. So from that standpoint, the injury news is good. The bad part is Trayvon Diggs is still in the concussion protocol and has been ruled out for this game. And along with their lone starting safety standing, Donovan Wilson, he's going to be out. So that means both your starters at safety, Wilson and Malik Hooker, will miss this game. So you're going to have 2 backups and really maybe 3, because if Wanye Thomas can't go, and he was playing some for Malik Hooker, and he's had this migraine headache thing that he said he's never had before, and he's listed as questionable, and he wasn't sure if they were going to allow him to play yet or not. Then you're down 3 safeties, and you're getting a little bit into your depth at that position. Now, I don't know that the safety position would dictate, well, there's no way you can win, right? But it doesn't help. So, yeah, they still have their concerns on defense, and especially in the secondary.
Yeah, and look, the defense is going to be the biggest question all year long, and it's not something I think that's going to get fixed. If they can get it to where it, now look, granted they got a kind of a break against the Commanders in that none of the starting wide receivers were playing, so they were able to maybe take advantage of that a little bit. But they played better than they have any week all year, so that's good. Like, they're building on some things, they're changing some things. It's just not going to be the strength of this team this season, and that's okay if they can get better and build on and can keep winning games.
It's like, Paul, just don't be bad. Can you get to average?
Yeah.
That would be, I think, at this point acceptable, and you would be able to usually, it seems like, lean on that offense to score 30-something, if not 40, every week. And now this is a big test. Denver's pretty darn good. They're not 5-2 and having won 4 straight for nothing. And they're pretty good against the run, and they put pressure on opposing quarterbacks because of that. They lead the league with 34 sacks, and not by a little, by 8. So that kind of gives you an indication of what the Cowboys are running into on the road against a good team and a good head coach in Sean Payton.
Yeah, that Cortland Sutton matchup in the secondary is probably going to be a tough one for the Cowboys this week for sure, because he's a big body and tough to cover anyway. Yeah, Mickey, I think the defense, they don't have to be the king. They just don't have to be the jester.
Yeah,
Somewhere
and the best way,
yeah,
and the best way to cover Sutton is get pressure on Bo Nix.
Yeah,
and then make sure while you're getting pressure, you don't allow him to beat you with his legs. Because in that big fourth quarter against the Giants this past week, not only did he throw for 2 touchdowns, he ran for 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to eliminate that part of his game. Otherwise, as we know, watching him in college too, he can hurt you that way.
Mickey, we've seen Jaden Blue now with Miles Sanders out for the rest of the year. We've seen Jaden Blue. He would have been kind of forced into it anyway if he was healthy to start. But now that he's healthy and back and and established on the roster, what have you seen his role grow, and what do you see as the things that are, other than Javonte Williams playing really well right now, as his kind of blocks to getting maybe more looks in the offense?
Well, I think it's step by step, right? And as you see, he's getting a few more snaps these last couple weeks. And now it's a trust factor. He would have had, I think he had if I remember correctly, a 14-yard run. And then he had another big run that was called back by a holding penalty. If not for that, he would have had a couple big runs. And I just think his speed and just the potential of defenses having to face that speed will cause them to make some, I think, changes. Because, and I've said this to you guys before, just think about having him at running back, the 2 wide receivers that, you can't double both of them, and then put Kevontae Turpin in the slot. Somebody's going to get covered by a linebacker. And if they try to do that in the passing game with Blue, they're going to pay the price. So I think they're just trying to inch him in there. And you can see, I saw it in training camp before he suffered that injury and kind of put him out for a couple weeks, that his instant speed, the minute he hits the line of scrimmage, is incredible. And I think defenses don't realize that or can't they underestimate it, that okay, here comes another running back. Well, he's not just another running back. He goes, and it's like if it's a car, he's going from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and that'll scare a defense. So yeah, that would add to what they already have going. And again, against this Denver team, to kind of slow down that pass rush, you got to be able to run the ball. So to me, one of the big keys to the game, and I use this in one of my TV segments, is that Javonte Williams needs to be the homecoming king. He's going back to where he was for 4 years, and they need him to have a big game, or at least an efficient game running the ball, to keep that Denver defense honest.
Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Mickey, talk to you next week.
Okay, see you, Paul.
When we come back, we'll go through the Big 12, the big banger games, and the injury report. That's all coming up here on 365 Sports.
Hi, I'm Dana Hassel, President and CEO of American Bank. Waco is a great place for business, and for more than 70 years, American Bank has been the bank for business. We continue to invest in our growing community with state-of-the-art branches conveniently located to serve you within minutes. Our experienced bankers, lenders, and decision makers work directly with business owners like you every day, providing tailored solutions, timely answers, and local insights face-to-face. Schedule a meeting with one of our bankers today and find out what makes American Bank the bank for your business. Member FDIC.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
It is Friday, so that means we are David Smokeless, but we are certainly not smoke-free, as Craig is here as well. But Craig, just to warn the people, it is high alert time in Dallas for Jennifer and Daniel Golden.
Yeah, my sister is in her last few days of pregnancy. So, yeah, we are anticipating a new member of the family sometime this weekend, probably around Sunday. So if anybody out there believes in well wishes and prayers and all that thing, we'd certainly appreciate all the positivity as she gets ready to deliver her first kid. So big moment. And yeah, there's a strong chance you will be smoke free on Monday, because we could very well still be up in Dallas. But we'll see. We have no, it's, anybody who's been around knows there's no hey, it's a Sunday at 8 o'clock. It's not set up in that way. It's literally she could go into labor at any minute now, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Does Smokey have a grandpa name picked out yet?
I don't think so. No, if he does, I don't have any idea about it. Yeah.
I actually don't know if he has a say in it. Does Jennifer have a name?
I mean, everybody's been doing this thing of what do you want to be? And doesn't the kid decide?
Yeah, the kid kind of decides.
Yeah. So
you start out with a baseline.
Okay.
And then it molds from there. My dad was always grandpa.
Right.
My mom was mumsy, or still is mumsy. Because she did not want to be called anything other than she didn't want grand Nana. My Nana was Nana. So she wanted something different. She didn't want anything with grand in the title because it made her feel old. So I started teasing and calling her Mumsy, and that's what stuck.
Yeah, I think he wants to be Grandy because that's what his dad was. So maybe that's what he starts off with, and we'll see what the kid ultimately turns that into. Because that is, you have a preference, but there's been all that talk, and I'm like, the kid's going to decide anyways, like when all is said and done. So very excited.
Amanda called her grandparents Ronald and Ernestine of their actual name. Everybody else called them grandma and grandpa or whatever they called them. But she referred to them by their first names her entire life. So I always thought that was weird. But just to warn the people that may happen this weekend. So Craig, just a couple of quick injury notes, and then we get into the games this week. Devin Dampier still listed as questionable, so we'll see what happens there. CJ Baxter at Texas is listed as probable and is on track to play, which is great news for the Longhorns. They haven't had him since week 2.
Well, and they don't run the ball that well, so I'm sure he can't do anything but help in that regard, although they need better offensive linemen more than I think it's the running backs issue at this point. But, CJ Baxter, just a guy who's been a non-factor this year for Texas, and that certainly hasn't helped their issues at all. So, if he's able to come back now for this final month, and that's great news. I mean, he's got barely over 100 yards this year. Hadn't played since September 13th. Had a carry for 6 yards, and that's the last we saw him in a win over UTEP. So not at all what you anticipated in the previews and the preseason talk. And, Longhorns and Archman and this and that and the other, and CJ Baxter. And CJ Baxter's not been a part of the equation, so he can only help.
But the bad news for them is that starting safety Michael Taff had thumb surgery on Monday. He's out. So he's going to be out until next month.
Well, that's a big piece of their defense there and leadership and all that. He's a great story as well. So, that's unfortunate. And, he's a guy last year who had the opportunity to make a decision, right, about whether he'd be coming back or not, and did. So, hate that for him. He's had a lot of big moments there. But that is something that you can never quite account for, is injuries and how they can take your season one way or the other. And I don't think it's the main reason why Texas isn't exactly where they want to be, but it's not helping matters at all. And those are a couple big name guys that you certainly had on the top portion or near the top of your list when you're talking about best players on this team this year. So that's definitely notable.
All right, and here's the last one we'll talk about. There's a lot.
How long is he going to be out? Does it say?
At least a month.
So basically the rest of the regular season?
They think, or into next month, the Georgia game is where they hope that he can come back.
Okay.
So that's coming up in a few
weeks.
At
least he's got a chance to come back. It's better than that. All right, career over.
Yeah.
Like, go to the pros now, I guess. Like, so good. That's great that he's at least got that chance.
Yeah, and he's been a very good player for them. Yeah. Very good player. Everybody who plays Texas will be glad when he's not eligible.
Sure. Anymore. I'll always feel like they're going to have dudes in the secondary, but certainly he's really, really good.
There's
notable.
There's certain guys though that thank God they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll take the next guy, but I need this guy to stop ruining my Saturdays when we play him. Yeah. I think he's there's certain guys like that.
Can I tell you an update I just saw that I don't want to go we were very short on time here, but I thought you'd be interested in this. This came from an ESPN article. Did you know that both Dabo Swinney and Deion Sanders eat well-done steaks?
Oh,
does that make you think any less of Dabo than you already did? Is that possible?
Yes, it does.
There's an article. It's really interesting. It's like Paulo Uggetti, I think. And I don't know if I'm butchering that pronunciation. I love to pronunciate right. So if I am, let me know how to do it better. But he had a story out on dietitians and nutritionists. And it's actually pretty interesting. He follows 5 programs. Georgia's one of them. LSU's one of them. And there's a couple, Colorado's one of them. And so anyways, it gets into the details of how these guys go about getting these jobs and then what it leads into and kind of cooking for these coaches and players. And they mentioned that both Deion and Dabo like well-done steaks. So I'm not going to judge them for that, but I know a lot of people will, much like Lincoln Riley's brisket, that's one of those food judgments that you make.
My wife's the same way. It's unfortunate.
I don't like eating it with a lot of pink, but I do I can't go charred either. I'm right there in the middle.
Look, medium rare is where you live. That's what you do. But, to each their own. I just hope people don't put ketchup on it. If you had told me that Dabo put ketchup on a steak.
If I had to bet, I bet that he does. I don't know why, but I just feel like he would.
Yeah. No, there's been politicians I've seen pictures of with like a really fancy steak. One of them who's very, 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 very famous doing it. And I'm like, well, I'm out on you. That's it. You can't ruin it, a $50 plus piece of meat with ketchup. It's not, I don't even want you to do it on a hot dog, which does not cost $50. Jordan Tyson's out, Craig, against Houston this week. So that's a tough break for the Sun Devils playing against a good team in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, figure that might be the case just based on where the reporting's been all week long. And that's super unfortunate that Arizona State's kind of had to deal with two of their, the two most high-profile guys now being banged up here as of late. And Levitt's able to make that great comeback and put up the great performance that he did last week. But Tyson was clearly really dinged up and unable to run the way that he typically would be able to, and which really looked like he was in some pain. So not surprised by that. That line now is Arizona State still 7.5-point favorites. But, yeah, he's a guy who is very much in the postseason awards conversation and certainly in the first-round NFL conversation. So you want to have him, and that makes that slightly more interesting for Houston. I still would go Arizona State there, but not bad news at all if you're thinking the Cougs can go in there and make it interesting.
Yeah. So that does. That's a little factor there. In that, not a little factor, a big factor in that game, because he is an absolute monster and he is a difference maker when he's in the game. Things just change. Craig, okay, in your opinion, is the swing game of the conference this week BYU and Iowa State? Because if BYU can win that game, that maybe puts them on a direct line to the championship game.
Well, I think it's the most interesting game. I think it's the biggest game, and I think it can be a swing game, but not in the way that you're thinking of. Like BYU's just locked into Arlington.
No, they have a tough schedule down the way.
Yeah, they got more games coming up that I think are going to really test them. But I think it's a swing game for Iowa State. I think if Iowa State loses this, then they're out of the equation entirely. Just go ahead and toss them out of, cancel your tickets to Arlington, Cyclone fans. You're not probably going, I think. It wouldn't be a bad loss by any means, losing to a borderline top 10 team, but you're suddenly sitting there at 2-3, and you still got to play Arizona State, and you got to go to TCU, and you got to play Kansas. So there's probably, or very well could be, another loss. But, yeah, I don't know that a 3-loss conference teams – I think that's really pushing it. So it's a swing game for Iowa State season, I think, more than for BYU to further entrench themselves. But still Iowa State slight favorites in this game at home in Ames, and I'm sticking with BYU, but I definitely am allowing myself to believe that there's a good chance that Iowa State can win this game. I think there is. They've got to play a lot better than when we last really have seen them, coming off a couple of losses now, but I think they'll have actual healthy options at kicker, which makes a huge difference. And being in Ames, I think also makes a difference. So that's a hell of a game. I think the other game, like Colorado, Utah is interesting in certain ways. Houston, Arizona State. I'm not buying the Houston upset here, but be on the watch for it. TCU, West Virginia is not something that many care about, nor is Baylor, Cincinnati. Although we do need to mention Cincinnati. This is an important game for them, and Baylor's a team capable of beating just about anybody in this league on any given Saturday. So I don't think Cincinnati needs to be feeling like, oh, we're just going to move to 7-1 real easily. I don't know that'll be the case, but we'll see. Tech's obviously not too worried with Oklahoma State at the moment. So I think, BYU Iowa State's clearly the game of the week, but the other one that's of interest as I ran all those down was the Sunflower Showdown, just because I think that's a swing one way or the other for those two teams, and K-State an opportunity to kind of salvage their season, or else take another loss, and then you're at 3-5, and then you're back under 500 in the league, and you're out of it, entirely. And for Kansas, for a season where there was a lot of their preseason kind of, what would the phrase be? well, they're not getting enough respect, or they need to get more respect, and they should be in that contenders list. Like, well, go prove it this weekend, because if you lose this weekend, then you're definitely that was overblown, and you were not at all in the contender group really. You'd be 2-3. So yeah, they're both 2-2 right now in the league. So this is a big one for both those Kansas schools, and also just the natural rivalry element of it all, and the fact that K-State's trying to approach 20 straight years of winning this game and is not far off from doing that. You want to put a stop to that if you're the Jayhawks.
Yeah, going back to Baylor and Cincinnati, I just think this is a terrible matchup for Baylor based on the strength of Cincinnati's offense. And I would think that even if Baylor hadn't lost a couple that they have already, like if they were even better, I'd been like, this is the game where on the road against something they don't do very well, which is stop the run.
They're just they're not super talented. I'm not trying to make them out to be more than they are, but they are talented enough that if they play a clean game, they are capable of beating everybody in the league, or at least playing with everybody in the league. So I'll stay with Cincinnati, but all I'm saying is Cincinnati can't just treat them like they're Oklahoma State, because then you'll find yourself in some trouble, because they are very much not just some pushover. And God, I'm not trying to dump on Oklahoma. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But they're like Oklahoma State's just. Like
it is what it is, man. We're not trying to like bully or anything. It's just it is what it is. It's a throwaway year, and you're waiting for a head coach to be hired. So you're pretty much going to be the doormat. And if you put up a better effort, then that's great. But nobody's anticipating upsets here, like that especially not Texas Tech and Lubbock.
Yeah.
I
mean, look, Cincinnati's a 3.5-point favorite. So again, it's not like
it's a close game.
This is not a 37.5-point favorite like the game that's on at the same time in Tech and Oklahoma State. I'm very curious on the Sunflower Showdown because I do think that Kansas can break this streak. They're favored in the game.
I'm picking them.
Yeah, I picked them, and I think they can break it. I think that they're more consistent and better, and they gel better as a team, and there's no Dylan Edwards and all these things. But I just know how they play, so it would not surprise me to see them get into a locked horns drag out game.
Look, man, it's a rivalry game. It's throw out the records, that kind of jazz. I think you can apply that here as well. That there are slight advantages to be found, but ultimately you roll the ball out there and it's K-State, Kansas, and somebody's won this thing for what is it? Is it 17 years in a row?
Yeah, 16, 17. Yeah,
I'm trying to be accurate on that, but whatever that number, it's 17 somewhere in there. I wouldn't care if Kansas State was 0-7. They've still beaten you nearly 20 straight times.
Yeah.
So you're at home. You've got a better team at this point in the season, albeit not by much, but I have liked them a bit better than what I've seen from Kansas State. So, yeah, this is an opportunity you got to take full advantage of. Last Jalen Daniels, Sunflower Showdown as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the Jayhawks need this one.
Yeah, I think they really do as well. Any of the bangers you want to hit before we go to the top five?
I mean, I'm sticking with Oklahoma over Ole Miss. I don't know if the Lane Kiffin rumor mill will have any effect on the Rebs. I think they're probably accustomed to it at this point, but Oklahoma's still favored in this game. It's in Norman. And I kind of got like some side eye when I picked this one earlier, but I mean, they're favored. So that is weird because like, why do I feel like I'm picking like the Cleveland Browns to win? It's freaking Oklahoma at home. But I don't know. I think it's just because I think people are kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out on them, right? Mm-hmm. And plus it's a really good opponent, Ole Miss, who's ranked higher. So I get it, but yeah, I'm sticking with Oklahoma. Although I'm fascinated to see this game, and I think Brent Venables really needs a win like this one. I think South Florida Memphis is a really interesting one that probably is not like the top of mind for a lot of people, but Memphis, despite taking that first loss, this is obviously hugely important in the American and also in the greater group of six conversation when it comes to the college football playoff. So that's not a banger, but a game that I'm still very interested in. The same as like a BYU Iowa State where they're not both ranked. I'm really interested in Texas going to Starkville and what that looks like and how they handle that. I'm fascinated to see that game.
Hey, no Michael Taft means, I mean, look, they've got depth in the secondary and their defense is good, but
Blake Shapen's 33 years old now at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, he's not scared
not
of you.
Far off.
No, yeah, he's not scared of them.
I'm sticking with A&M and Baton Rouge. I still feel good about the Ags, although I know, like, as we draw closer to game time, like it's LSU on a Saturday night in Death Valley, and with a top-ranked opponent rolling in, trying to remain unscathed, and that usually doesn't work out well. So I get the Aggie what was it referred to as earlier in the show?
It's battered Aggie.
Battered Aggie syndrome. Yeah, I get it, and I know I'm trying to talk Paul out of still feeling that way, but it's decades worth of it, so I get it. So I know why they're, and plus LSU's LSU. Like, give them their respect, even if it's not the year they were quite expecting. They're not terrible. Like, I mean, they're still one of the better teams, top to bottom in the country. So that ought to be a great atmosphere and a great game. And these two teams, for all these rivalries people have tried to create out of nothing, or we're hoping would work out that maybe just didn't have the meat to it. This LSU A&M rivalry's worked out really well. It's been a fun little back and forth between these two teams, so I'm looking forward to another chapter of it.
Yeah, I think A&M's just a better team. I think that they have the better coaching staff. I think that everything's better all the way around. But it's Baton Rouge on a Saturday night, so that things can.
It's still college football, folks.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like it's like last week we were picking Big 12 games and we were all going favorite. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I don't know what couple games we're all going to miss, but we're going to miss a couple games because it's not just going to go chalk across the board. And so, somebody's going to be upset this weekend, and that very well may be the one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when we come back, the top 5 and the Carnival. This is 365 Sports.
Flex Shopper is designed for anyone who wants the freedom to get new products right away, whether it's electronics, furniture, or appliances, even without enough cash upfront or top-tier credit.
A secret: I travel internationally every year. I struggle with insomnia both at home and especially in hotels. This was life-changing. It's called Fly Kit. My favorite aspect of the Fly Kit is it tells you when to sleep.
Unforgettable experiences with Forest Travel. Experience the pinnacle of luxury travel with our exclusive global selection. From secluded villas to elegant train voyages, each moment is tailored for sophisticated exploration. Forest Travel.
Golfballs.com carries the latest selection of golf balls, clubs, and gear from brands such as Titleist, TaylorMade, and Callaway. Golfballs.com remains the world leader in golf customization. And of course, online at golfballs.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into the Top 5. I'm Paul Catalina, and it is my Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Use our promo code Flag and Anthem at flagandanthem.com for a discount. That's 365 Sports. Top 5, what coaches with potential job offers should do. Number 5, Matt Rule. He should stay at Nebraska. The distraction last week cost him, especially against a team that Nebraska hasn't beaten in a long time in Minnesota. They needed to be focused. The Penn State thing came there. It's really hard to avoid, but he kind of got outplayed there by Kurt Cignetti, who just stamped it. I'm not going. And Matt left it out there a little bit for people to speculate. He needs to stay at Nebraska, get to the finish line there, get them in the playoff, win some playoff games, and then think about what the next step is, if there is one, or just be at Nebraska for as long as you possibly can and win a bunch of games. Number 4, Alex Golesh at USF. As much as I would love him to stay for the USF people, if he gets the right job, he should go. If Florida calls, if Florida State calls, if Oklahoma State calls, if one of those schools like that calls, it's a great fit for him, he should go. If it isn't in the top 4 or 5 jobs, then stay. But I think it's time, and he's probably going to get a pretty darn good job. Kentucky, if that opens up, Auburn, those are all good fits for Alex Golesh. He could have his pick in the litter this year if things continue to fall the way they look like they're going to fall. Number 3, John Summerall at Tulane. Man, Tulane's a fun watch, and Jake Retzlaff has been a revelation there. He's fun. It's a little bit of a nightmare sometimes, but you wake up from it and everything's fine. They are dominant. They are tough. They are rolling along at Tulane, and that is because of John Summerall and the culture he's installed there. I think he's getting one of the open SEC jobs, probably not Florida, but one of the other ones that comes open. could definitely be for John Sumrall and is a great fit. Number 2, Brent Key, only for 3 or 4 jobs. Georgia Tech's a good job, but if you get a job offer at, say, FSU, and you get one at Auburn or somewhere like that, you should probably jump. The likelihood of you winning there and getting to the playoff regularly there is more likely than Georgia Tech, although right now just slightly, and things are changing. But I do think that Brent Key is a culture guy. He is a tough-as-nails coach, and he's a player developer, and he can help pretty much any program. Penn State would be one. I would consider Brent Key if I were Penn State. And number 1, Lane Kiffin. He should stay. The grass is not greener in Gainesville than it is at Ole Miss. This is not a knock on Gainesville. It's just the facts of the case is that Ole Miss, he has established, it's his program. He can really do some things there. He does not have to go to Florida to do that. Now, look, he's a Steve Spurrier fanboy galore. He wears a visor because of Steve Spurrier. He's a smartass because of Steve Spurrier and all those things. And yes, he is the modern-day Spurrier, and he could probably do a pretty damn good job at Florida. But I don't think that he should just go to chase that. Ole Miss could be yours. It is going well right now. He should stay. That's going to do it for the top 5. It's time for the carnival. Okay, let's spin the wheel. We got to get this clicker fixed. Oh, look, this one's specifically for you, Craig. So it's great that it happened on a Friday when you were definitely here. Craig, which WWE event from the past should people go watch if they've never seen it before?
Oh my gosh. An event from the past that they go see if you've never seen it before. Man, it's just so wildly different over the decades. The one that I always watched growing up, but I was already a fan, so this won't apply, but my favorite event ever was WrestleMania 7 because that was the videotape I had, and it was also a really long event, so there was tons of matches, so tons of characters. So for a guy who only had this one VHS to rewatch, that was the best one because there was the longest with the most people on it. So I was just constantly wore that thing out. That's a really good question. I think, gosh, there's just been so many dadgum events though. I don't know. I don't have an answer on that. I'm sorry. I don't have a concrete answer to go watch this specific event and you'll love it.
What was your, I'll narrow it down. What was your favorite era?
My favorite era was definitely the Attitude Era there at the end of the 90s when it was its big boom period with Stone Cold and the NWO and multiple companies that were doing well for the most part. And now it's been, for the 20-somethings, it's just been WWE their whole lives, and that's all there's ever really been. There's been some companies that have popped up here and there, and there's some that are around, but none of them have really threatened them that much, whereas back then, they were actually not winning for a large portion of that time. WCW was, and that's what made it really, really interesting, and just the back and forth of guys jumping from one company to the other. And so, yeah, I'd go back to but even dude, here's the thing, Paul, if you go back and watch those, it doesn't age well. A lot of it does not age well. And a lot of it you look back on when you're not 18 or 17 or 14 and you're 38 or 48 or whatever. And you're like, how did I like that? What did I like about that when I was younger? So that's kind of where I find myself. That's why it's kind of hard to pinpoint something because I don't even know what I like from back then as much as because it's all nostalgia in my head at this point.
All right.
If you want to start the dawn of the Attitude Era, though, WrestleMania 14 was kind of the start of the Stone Cold era. So maybe that's a good one because that was really it wasn't the launching point to the Attitude, but it was kind of the unofficial start in a way. So that's one to kind of get right into that wheelhouse of when it all really started taking off in 98.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably a lot.
It's the start of the Stone Cold era. That's when he wins the title the first time, and then he's the biggest star that we've ever seen outside of Hulk Hogan for the next few years. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one you shouldn't watch as a WWE event would be the 1991 Hulk Hogan vehicle Suburban Commando, starring Christopher Lloyd and Shelley Duvall.
No matter how big of a wrestling fan I was never a Hulk Hogan movie fan. I never got into his movies. I watched Thunder in Paradise on Turner Networks a couple times because they were before or after Nitro, if I remember correctly. And they were also on late at night. I was always a night owl, still am. So between like Silk Stockings and Baywatch over on USA,
Yeah.
like on TBS, it was Thunder in Paradise or whatever. But I was not a big Hulk Hogan movie guy. That's for sure.
Yeah, Silk Stockings. That one.
I was going to say the one you say to not watch. I said Over the Edge is the one that popped in my head because that was one where the night Owen Hart died during the show. So that's when you say like, I took that question way too seriously, but that's what popped into my head. It's like, yeah, don't watch that. You don't see anything, but it's such a depressing thing to watch in hindsight, especially.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the trivia questions. Thanks
for throwing me a little bone there, Andrew, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't have a more concrete answer, but that's just a very open question, so that's a good question.
Yeah. Which college football team's fans were the first to tear down the goalposts? I'm going to go with Yale just because it's so old. It seems like something would happen a long time ago.
I don't know that I've ever come across this question or even given it really much thought. I mean, Yale obviously it had a bit of a head start here. So, yeah, we can go with Yale.
I mean, look, I'm thinking like it's the 1920s. Cocaine's legal. You got a bunch of rich guys. They win the game against Harvard or Princeton or somebody. And it's like, okay, guys, let's go tie down the goalposts.
Right.
So, all right, I'm going to say Yale.
Okay, there you go.
1876. There we go.
During a game between Harvard and Yale fans tore down the goalpost to prevent Harvard from kicking a goal. This act is considered the first instance of fan tearing down goalposts and see if is that not illegal?
Well, it wasn't then.
Can you do that? A tradition that has since become a staple in college sports celebration. Oh my! What was the Arizona State game last week?
Yeah.
Did you see that clip of the goalpost coming down?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Dude, they are very lucky. Like, extremely lucky that they do not have a massive lawsuit on their hands. They're very easily could have been multiple people hurt, if not somebody killed, with the way that however it was done. I mean, there's people starting to flood into the end zone, and just from off-camera view, somebody, some group, somehow they pushed those goalposts down, and those things just slammed to the ground, and there are people, I don't know how it didn't hit anybody.
Inches.
I don't know how it didn't hit anybody.
Yeah, inches.
And they are so lucky that did not go badly because, man, that's the type of thing where it's like we were talking about storming the field with Virginia a few weeks ago. It's like, man, I'm not trying to be a party pooper, but like that could have gotten really sketchy. And I don't want to be this situation where after somebody dies, we go, you know what? Probably should have eliminated that, or at least here in this stadium, we probably should have done something more. So Arizona State, you better get your S together with those goalposts, man.
Yeah, because Virginia had a rope.
Yeah.
They had a rope.
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully they've addressed that as best they can, because that should have scared them to death as well. Like, at least the insurance side of things should be worried.
I don't know. Hey, what are you guys doing about it? We got a thicker rope.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, man, you watch that video, Arizona State, very lucky that somebody did not get really hurt.
I know this answer, Craig. I don't even have to discuss it with you. I know this one like I know my name. This U.S. president became the first to throw a ceremonial pitch in a Major League Baseball game. He did not do it from the mound. He did it from his seat because he was a huge gravy goblin, and that is William Howard Taft.
Thought you were about to say FDR because he was in a wheelchair or something.
No, but it's William Howard Taft. Did it at a Washington Senators game? Yes. Opening day, 1910.
The custom became a staple of MLB history, continued by nearly every president since. Yeah, and everybody remembers George W. after 9/11 at the Yankees. That was World Series, right?
It was.
Yeah, Yankees World Series. So that was a great moment.
My favorite part of that story is that Derek Jeter told him as he was on the top step, he's like, hey, don't throw it from the mat. You got to throw it from the rubber. They're
Good call by Jeter.
They're going to boo you. And
George W. is a baseball guy anyway.
President Bush was like, oh, really? He's like, but it's like the week after 9/11. He's like, they're gonna boo you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, good call by Jeter, and George W. delivered. Obviously, was a Rangers owner for forever and ever, so he had plenty of baseball background. But yeah, I didn't know this about William Howard Taft. That's cool though. And then the Senators obviously became the Texas Rangers eventually.
Yeah.
Was the first Senators to move? There's
there
a couple
the Twins,
Senators,
and then there were the Rangers.
So this would have been the Twins then.
Yeah, this is the Twins.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Twins. I know a lot of random presidential facts. Another one about William Howard Taft. What do you think the candy bar Baby Ruth is named after?
Babe Ruth.
It is not. It is named after his daughter, who was Ruth. And then Babe Ruth came along, and they kind of pivoted.
Gotcha.
So
there
you go.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, My little thing when I was a kid was like a random presidential trivia.
Oh, well,
I still
mine's wrestling, so there you go.
I still really enjoy it, especially the older ones when you find out things and you get more salacious. Like, I knew about like Teapot Dome scandal and I knew about like other things, but I didn't realize that like Warren G. Harding was like such a poon hound.
Okay.
He had a lot of mistresses, one of whom he had to stash.
So you talk about the
Teapot Dome scandal,
and I talk about the Montreal screw job in pro wrestling.
Yeah,
so
there we
they
go.
are different tastes.
Absolutely. How can the NBA restore integrity post gambling scandal? Ban all player prop bets is second place. Lifetime ban for the involved players. I mean, I think that's going to happen. But ban all player prop bets is not a bad idea. I think you're going to see some serious government insight when it opens up again into prop betting and what it can entail.
Well, what I've noticed over the last 24 hours is there's people already trying to make this a political issue.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was the NBA, I'd be very nervous about that, of people trying to get our politicians involved. And that's not a crazy thing to think couldn't happen. I mean, that could very well. So, yeah, they have a mess on their hands. And I don't know what the answer is. Like, I don't think you can ban player prop bets. But if you're talking like, okay, it's one of those, like, if you could do anything you wanted to do, then yeah, that would be a really good way to go. And I do think that the most answered already, that lifetime ban, I think that's going to happen. I mean, and plus, like, Chauncey Billups is long retired, but he's a coach, so I think you ban him from ever coaching. I think you got to do that. And so we'll see if they go to that extreme. I think that's the way, though, to kind of stomp it out as best you can, because I don't think you're going to take away from your gambling money. And eliminate the prop bets, but that would be like the most surefire way to do it.
The integrity unit, I don't know if they did that already, but here's the thing about the NBA. This is their second major gambling related scandal, and they need to at least confirmed gambling related scandal.
It is so crazy to me, Paul, how you bring up like anybody being corrupt, even though people are throwing accusations left and right 24/7, 365 on a number of topics. But the moment you start bringing up sports isn't quite on the up, people lose. How could you possibly, they just, I do think the NBA does probably do some underhanded, dirty, cheap things. I still don't believe the draft's not rigged to some extent, because I don't believe the percentage chances.
I'll just tell you that they had a referee fixing games.
Yes, Tim Donaghy.
Tim
Donaghy was fixing games. We know that he was. So, like, I just, if there is a league where I don't believe everything that they say, and I don't believe everything the NFL says, the NFL clearly was trying to cover up concussions and all of that. But ultimately, these are people no different than the Wall Street guys. They're all just trying to make as much money as they possibly can. They don't care about us until we stop giving them money. But I do think the NBA has very much an integrity issue on its hands, because I'm somebody who never really had reasons to believe those things, and I fully believe those things now about this league.
Well, look, with Tim Donaghy, you know what they did? They're like, oh, just him, lucky us, and then nothing.
Right.
And you're like, hold on a minute.
Well, this is also fresh off of the whole Clippers situation, where they tried to call Pablo Torre a liar, and then he keeps digging in, and then suddenly he's got Adam Silver, the commissioner, talking about, well, I don't know, I've never heard of this company, and then a day later going, when he gets busted, oh no, what I meant was, it's like, dude, y'all are like, they are not to be trusted, and so that's why I don't trust them, because they've been caught in numerous things over the last few years. The commissioner's been caught lying only to, no, what I meant was, it's like, you're too smart to stumble over your words on a topic like this. So I think you meant what you said. It was only afterwards you realized that it put you in a bit of a hole. And now you're like, oh, no. What I was trying to say was this. So I think Adam Silver and the NBA have made a ridiculous amount of money. I also don't think it's probably all on the up and up. And I very much question that league. I know that'll sound crazy, but I'm just not into the NBA right now, and and the Luka thing was part of it, but I'm still open to watching games. But I'll tell you, my biggest issue with the NBA, other than the regular season, is just this long, meaningless sort of stretch for the most part. Is I don't believe it's all on the up and up. I really don't at this point. So I mean, they won't miss me being gone from their fan base, but I do think they need to worry about those hardcores that they will very much miss if all of a sudden they're wondering, are we really watching what we're watching, or is this all kind of, shady S going on?
Yeah. All right. Next one up. Which P4 undefeated team is most likely to lose? Overwhelmingly, A&M versus LSU at LSU.
All those battered Aggies voting on this one.
BYU versus Iowa State comes in second, and then tie between Georgia Tech and Syracuse and Indiana and UCLA. Look, UCLA, second hottest team in the Big Ten right now behind Indiana.
They are.
They're a 27-point dog, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they've turned into a really good story. So that and they've got Big Noon, right? So, like, just think about going from firing your coach and like the worst team in power
getting
football,
your ass whipped by New Mexico,
getting crushed by New Mexico, and then you turn around and you're on Big Noon like 3 weeks later because you've gone on this run. That's just I'm happy for the Bruins fans out there, but I don't worry about Indiana. I think Cignetti's got them locked in. Georgia Tech, I mean, Syracuse has been a big step down from last year.
If Steve Angeli was still playing, I would say it would be different.
That's the big part why they're not quite to where they were, is because they lost him so quickly.
He got hurt in that Clemson game, and they were able to close that out. But since then, it's not been the same team at all, which is the reason they went out and got him. But you see the top two are kind of the overwhelming.
And they should be. And I do think Iowa State's got a real legit shot of beating BYU. But if I had to pick a game, I'm going with the 51%. I think it's A&M with their battered Aggie syndrome rolling into Death Valley. That's the pick I would go with. And number 2, I'd go with BYU and Iowa State. Yep. So I'm right there with the audience.
All right, that's going to be it for us. Thanks to everybody involved. Thanks to Garrett. Thanks to Brandon, Andrew, Wolverine, Logan is here for Craig.
And whether you like the X-Men or pro wrestling or presidential trivia or all the college football we talk, before you go this weekend, if you haven't, please hit that like and subscribe. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, throw the QR code up, Brandon. There you go. Scan that thing real quick. You've got 5 seconds. That's going to do it for us. Have a great weekend, everybody.